Today, for the very first time, for all three of us, we are going to listen to brand new Metallica. This is 72 Seasons. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another album review / reaction here on my channel. And this is going to be so freaking awesome. We are here. It is basically midnight. We'll just call it midnight. And we are here as the Metallica album is unfolding to the whole rest of the world. We sit here ready to experience it along with everybody else, though this video will be uploaded later. So one thing I want to say right away is we, all three of us, recommend that you make sure you listen to this album yourself before you listen to this album with us. Do you guys agree with that?
Podcast warning.
Yeah, that seems like a silly thing to not do.
Yeah, for sure. Because I know who knows, hopefully I'm going to be able to get this video posted on Saturday. We're recording this on Thursday, like I said, around midnight or so as the album's dropping. It doesn't matter what time it is, but the album just released. And I'm going to hopefully try to get this video done, edited and done tomorrow, rendered overnight, and then posted on Saturday morning. So probably everyone will have listened to the album a couple of times before you get to this video. But if not, make sure you do listen to the album yourself. I think for me, it would probably ruin a whole album experience to have some idiots talking over it, which is probably what we're going to be doing. I am curious if we're going to talk over this a little bit less, just because this will be the first time that both of the Chris's have heard this album as well. So we might be doing a little bit more focusing and then a little bit longer conversations about the songs in between the tracks. For those of you who have never seen a video here on my channel before, know that what we're going to do is we're going to listen to the album all the way through. When we have a secondary guest here, like we have Chris and Chris, and I'm Patrick, by the way. I will put our little explodey things up on the screen right now. And we're going to listen to the album all the way through, and then we'll probably pause and talk about the songs as we're hearing them. I'll try not to pause in the middle of songs. I don't really like to do that. I'd like to listen to it, and we can talk maybe a little bit during the song, like while it's playing. Mm-hmm. But we'll do a majority of our conversation will be happening in between the tracks. So I also have to just say, even though I really don't think it's necessarily worth it, but I will try to include the audio from this album in the video, so you watching the video will be able to hear exactly what we're hearing. And I just have to give a shout out to Metallica. You know, for all the crap they get for all the Napster stuff and everything, like they have it so that every single one of their songs that we have reacted to on my channel so far, there's no repercussions on my channel. Like almost every artist has it so that my video has like a copyright claim on it, but the video can still be seen, but it could never be monetized. And it might not be seen in like certain countries or something. Like a lot of artists don't have their stuff set so if people in Russia can't see it right now, because there's kind of like a thing with what's going on with Russia. But Metallica, there's literally no effect on my videos when I use a Metallica song. I could monetize it, make all the money myself if my channel had 1,000 subscribers, and I could do that.
So subscribe.
But so I just want to shout out to Metallica for being awesome for that. And I also want to say, like, I haven't watched a ton of these things because I didn't want to spoil anything for myself. But like, I've been seeing on YouTube, Metallica has been releasing tons of like rehearsal footage. They've been releasing all sorts of just like little like 5-minute videos of like Lars and James yelling at each other while they're rehearsing and stuff that looks pretty entertaining and gets tons and tons and tons of views. So it seems like they're really doing the right thing to promote this album. Right? It really seems like they're doing a lot of really awesome modern way of thinking, like, and then allowing people like idiots like me to use their music in their YouTube videos and stuff. Like, that's really forward thinking, and that's really cool of them. And I think maybe one of the reasons is that they own all of the content. They own all the copyrights to all of their songs and their blackened record label and everything. So,
oh, sure. That's a good point. Yeah.
The fact that they own everything means that they are the ones that are choosing to do it. But if you would have asked me before I started learning a little bit about Metallica, which for those of you who are, this is your first Metallica video on my channel, just know that I have never heard a vast majority of Metallica's catalog. And on my channel just recently, since the beginning of the year, we've gone through Ride the Lightning, Master of Puppets, and Justice for All. And then we all listen to the Black Album together as well. So those videos also exist on my channel. You can go check those out if this is your first video here. And then you can also, like Chris said, I don't generally tend to tell people to subscribe. But if you want to subscribe, I have been letting people know in the comments and everything that I am committed to listen to all of the Metallica albums. So I think I'm for sure going to do Load and Reload probably with Chris Parker because he enjoys those albums. And this Chris doesn't care for them as much, but it's tough to get everyone scheduled for everything, and we have to make priorities. We have to prioritize. But I'm going to do those, going to do Death Magnetic. And look at this. Since the last time we recorded, I bought myself a copy for $4 off of eBay of
Nice.
Death Magnetic.
Oh, and it does have the cool.
I really wish that there was a magnet in that case somewhere.
That's
that would
an
be
interesting
great.
thought. I also
But
bought
it does have the cool. But it does have the cool cutaway.
the recessed book or whatever.
Right, like all the pages have holes in them to make the coffin deep.
Oh, cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
that's from the.
I was working at Hastings when that came out, and I remember that was a big deal. Everyone would a couple people opened it in the store when they purchased it. I also bought myself a copy. I was really excited about this. For $9 off of eBay, I bought this special Super 3-disc deluxe edition of Hardwired to Self-Destruct, which has...
I love that album.
Abysmal artwork.
It's not the best, but I actually think it's actually kind of cool because it's like they digitally put their three faces together, but then they were projecting. Oh yeah, there's a dude up there. And then they projected onto that. I don't know. It's really interesting how they did it, but I'm assuming that was all for a music video or something. But this is a 3-disc
I don't know.
set.
I don't think that I've seen any videos from that album that have anything to do with that album art. I think it's exclusive to the.
But this is
Here's the first hot take of the day. I was thinking about that album artwork before we were going to do this video. I was thinking about this the other day. Mm-hmm. I am of the mind that metal bands should not have their faces or perhaps any faces on album covers.
unless it's like some illustrated thing or something, right?
for sure.
What about that Disturbed album?
Yeah, Disturbed.
their
That's
first
metal.
one.
Just like
Their first-
Evanescence up here. That's
If you had Amy Lee in your band, you would put her face on everything you could as well. Okay,
if I had Amy Lee in my band, I wouldn't be doing podcasts with you guys at midnight.
that's true.
Yeah, you'd have a much different existence.
But seriously, I want to just let everyone know watching this, whether you're new or you've been with us for all the Metallica reactions so far, I am personally committed to doing all of the stuff, all the Metallica albums I haven't done so far. I really want to listen to Symphony of Metallica as well.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any way for me to watch the video, because it would be really cool to watch the video. But when you react to videos, it just opens a whole nother can of worms on YouTube, and so I don't necessarily want to do that.
I've never seen the whole thing. I've seen pieces of it, but I've never watched the whole thing from start to
you
finish.
showed me one or two
think I own
songs long time ago, and you had some sort of a DVD set of it. You showed it to me on your laptop with a video. I know that for sure. And it wasn't YouTube.
Ago. I've lost lots of things over the years.
Now, I was going to ask you guys as well, because we've talked about all of the Metallica albums a little bit in these reactions. Yes. But one thing we have not talked about, and I had forgotten about since we recorded last, was there's one other Metallica song that I really know, and that is their cover of Turn the Page.
Oh.
Did they release a whole album of covers?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
What is that called?
Garage Inc.
That's what Garage Inc. is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Half of it's a 2-disc. Half of it is old stuff. I don't think they're old covers, but they're just old songs.
Is it
And then the
maybe
second disc
rarities and
is
B-sides
modern
and stuff?
covers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the reason I ask about that is because the first time obviously I heard, that should be obvious. I've heard Metallica's version of that song way before I knew that it was a cover, so I just assumed that was a Metallica song. Really loved it because it mentions Omaha, which was really cool.
Every time I hear that song, I think some clown in Omaha is listening to this and praising the fact that somebody said Omaha in a song.
And it was Patrick.
Well,
It was every time.
well, I'm sorry, I'm a little over every other song in existence mentioning California or Los Angeles or Hollywood. So okay, give me
That's
one.
fine. There's a
give
lot
me
of
one
cities,
mention
man.
of Nebraska. But anyway, so I actually would maybe be interested in hearing that, because I think of all the Metallica songs I've ever heard, Turn the Page probably has the best production I've ever heard. The kick and snare sound fantastic on that song, from what I remember. It's been years since I heard it.
Here's my hot take for this episode, or whatever you want to call it. Every cover that Metallica has done is better than the original.
I mean, I only know the one, and I've only heard who originally sings the Turn the Page?
Bob Seger.
Yeah.
Bob Seger? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know who Bob Seger is, but
Good.
But I would assume that Metallica's version would be better than that. I don't know.
There's no the saxophone in the Metallica version, right?
I would
No,
certainly
I don't
hope
think-
not. Right?
I can't imagine.
I can't.
I don't think I would
imagine
like it
there
as
is.
much if it did have it.
That I don't know. I always thought
Saxophone's my
saxophone-
least favorite instrument, by the way.
Yeah,
I love a saxophone.
No, I just hate them.
that's really weird.
No, it's not.
to
It
hate
sounds
an
terrible.
instrument.
It sounds terrible. I don't know if
doesn't.
I've
It's
ever heard
fantastic.
it used. Like, I will say, tenor saxophone, baritone saxophones. Those things are really cool.
Yeah, baritone. And
But they
bass
pretty
saxophone
much
should be
just do like low, stingy, stabby notes, like Stax records and stuff. Like that kind of stuff is fine. But to have like a saxophone solo in your music, or like Gary Newman's 80s music, like Gary Newman's, well, whatever, we don't need to get into that. Gary Newman's fantastic though. And if you're a big Metallica fan, you probably already know that. Do we need to get into anything else before we get into this?
I have a suggestion.
Okay.
Because sometimes we get called out for doing podcasts and then the videos are titled reactions. I think that we should all just like make a variety of faces so that people can imagine, like if we were doing facial expressions, like we could do surprise or like maybe a thoughtful one and then maybe like a sad one.
So you mean while we're listening?
No, I mean just now.
Oh.
And you could copy and paste them over, or if people want to imagine what we would look like when we were looking excited or sad or thoughtful, then that's what we
do.
did.
I mean, the videos on my channel tend to be quite long, quite
I
large.
was going to say, I think the biggest problem is that you do have a full podcast episode before the reactions ever start.
Yeah.
It's like 45 minutes.
Yeah. Well, for sure. And my just in case anyone is curious about that, like my thinking there is I put timestamps. So like anyone can always feel free to skip to any part of the video they want. And I watch reaction stuff constantly all the time. It's like my number one form of entertainment. And there are some people who do talk quite a bit before they get into like the episode of Game of Thrones or whatever they're watching. And I'll skip it sometimes, but sometimes I also find myself listening to their thoughts and like it's really interesting to hear what they think. And most of the time when that's most interesting is when people are talking about their expectations for the thing that they're going to consume. And then you're like, the person sitting there watching, you're like, oh, they don't even know, this is the Red Wedding and they have no clue,
Yeah, it's not
So it's
without
like-
merit. It's just funny
Yeah.
that it's like
Yeah, no, for sure.
effectively-
But I also understand too, like most music reaction channels or videos are just reacting to one song, let alone a full album. And there's only a few other YouTube channels that I've come across where a person listens to the entire album and they include the entire album in the reaction. Most people don't speak for a large majority of when they're listening, and they just cut out the parts when they're not speaking.
Yeah.
So the person watching the video, and I assume the reason they do that is so that they can maybe get to monetize that video eventually. But since I have fewer than 1,000 subscribers on my channel, and since my goal with this is not to make money and to become like internet YouTube famous influencer status person, I want to do it and make the videos as good as I can. And I've always been one of those, you and I have argued about this too. I'd rather have 11 really great songs and 3 bonus tracks that maybe are kind of crappy, but I'd like to have those on the album at least. Whereas you're of the exact opposite, like cut the fat, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, but that's not me. And anyone that knows and has seen a video on my channel, you know that I don't cut any of the fat. I'll leave anything in there. I'll leave everything in there. I was going to say, for the ease of my editing this video, if you guys would refrain from doing as much swearing as you feel like you don't have to do, you know what I mean? Like, it's not that big of an issue, and I keep my 1,000 hertz beep off to the side on my desktop on all my computers so I can just drag it right on
There's
there.
an audio engineering tip right there. If you're looking at starting your ear training to start frequencies, the beep that beeps out the swear words is 1K.
Yep, it is exactly
It's
1K.
also the same. It's the color bars and emergency test sound.
Yep.
And like 800 is a lot of school bells. Right?
I guess.
They don't
I
have
don't
they don't
remember
have
that
bells in high schools now. They did when we were in high school. I had a bell. But now there's a beeper, and I think it's like 800 hertz. Anyway.
I learned all about DTMF tones when I was making some sounds for Shadows Over Loathing. I made my own phone beeps. Beep, boop, 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 boop.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's a dual tone, multiple frequency. And so each one is 2 different frequencies stacked on top of each other. And so you can just, it's really cool.
That's what
That is
the
really
phone
nice.
sounds are?
is really cool.
What's the interval between them?
I don't know. I'll have to look at the numbers. I can't
Because you
remember
can
what
play like my dial-up internet when I was like 10 years old. I think it was 6842666, which was like basically Mary Had a Little Lamb. Maybe one of the notes is off, and so I would would pick up the phone and just like dial, and I play Mary Has a Little Lamb song on the phone. Yeah,
that's awesome. Some lady picks up, hello,
you're right.
Click. Okay, so one thing I want to do is I want us to talk a little bit about our expectations for this, and I feel like you guys will have way more to say about that than I will.
Okay.
For this album. Before we get to that, I will just say I read the Wikipedia article for this album and tried to find out a little bit of information. As of right now, since it just came out, there isn't actually a ton of information about like how this album was made or anything. I did find out that almost all of these songs were written in their entirety over COVID. All the members of the band worked on their home studios over COVID, over the pandemic, to make their home studios as good as they could make them. And then they would work on writing the songs. And then they just basically got together in the studio afterwards, after they had the whole album, I believe, mostly written, got together in the studio to record it all. And that's how these songs were sort of like came to be. And I did also read that 72 Seasons is in reference to the first 18 years of a person's life, meaning the time when you're most like susceptible to receiving information. And James mentioned that it was like referring to like maybe people taking up their parents' like ideologies and things and just like being influenced to the first 18 years of your life. So I guess 18 years would equate to 72 seasons. So I don't know the math there.
Cool.
72 divided by 4 is probably 18, I would guess. But we're not a math podcast or math reaction.
You'll type that in the old calculator here.
But anyway,
72 divided by 18 is 4.
Yeah, so James did the math right. So that's what 72 Seasons means. But so, okay, Chris Parker, what are your thoughts about this album, and how do you feel going into it?
Well, I've heard 2 songs from it. And I don't know, I really like Hardwired a lot. I feel like Hardwired was like the first time that they're like, because Death Magnetic had a certain hole to fill post Saint Anger, but also post Load, Reload, all the other stuff that came after Black is like, okay, we have to make this album now and it's got to be back to the way that we were. And it feels a little bit forced is not quite the right word, but it's a little bit like almost fan servicey, I feel like, in the way that it's written. And I love it. Okay. It's a fantastic album, but I feel that way about it. And then I feel like Hardwired is like, okay, we rinsed that all out. Nobody's paying any attention to us now. Let's just make a bunch of songs that are a little bit more just how we would write them. And I feel like it's a more organic feeling album, and I really like it a lot. And I'd like to see this continue that vibe and also do its best to convince me that they are going to continue making music after this and touring and stuff, and that they're not too old to do this anymore, because they're getting there. And they've got their live tour. Their tour for this album is the first time I've ever seen a show that was scheduled a year and a half out. So it's August of 2024 is when they're set to be here, and you can buy tickets for it already.
Now, did you see, I'm sure you saw this already, but did you guys see that they've been on Jimmy Kimmel Live every night this week?
I did not see that.
Yeah, they were on Monday, and they had an interview. And then every night since then, they've given a live performance of one of their songs. And Wednesday was the big night because they did Master of Puppets in its entirety. The one song, just the song Master of Puppets. And so that was really cool. And I watched them do Master of Puppets, and I watched them do a little bit of it was, what's the fast song off a Black album? It was the one that you liked, or that you... Holier Than Thou, I think is what it was. I think they started doing that one. But in the interview, they said that what they're doing for this, they regretted making this decision. But every city that they go to for this tour, they're playing 2 nights in a row, and neither night are they repeating a single song.
Ooh, boy.
So you may, Chris, if you didn't know that, you may not hear Enter Sandman or Sad But True or Master of Puppets. You may only hear,
That's really good to know, because I've noticed that it is a 2-night show.
Yeah.
It actually skips Saturday, so it's Friday night and Sunday night.
Oh, okay.
Something probably got in the way, which is odd.
Yeah.
But I was probably going to just get one, and now I don't know if I can. I think I would have to go to both.
Well,
Did you buy a ticket yet?
No, not yet.
How much are they?
They're a bit steep. I think they're like 300.
I might have to look because that's one of the
It
things.
might. I think
didn't
it's
you
actually
say
like 300.
you were gonna get a
for
good
both.
ticket and do it?
If they're because the I've only seen Metallica twice. I think I've only seen Metallica twice. I saw them on Death Magnetic and Hardwired, and I had the Hardwired ones. I did not pay for those tickets. Somebody had extras, and I just went. And they were nosebleeds. And after that, I saw pictures that my friends took from on the floor, and they had a completely different experience than I did. And I said, next time that they're close, I'm just going to spend the $500 and stand on the floor and be really close to James Hetfield.
I think it's 3 something, but it's for both nights, so it's actually not too bad.
That's not bad.
Yeah, that
That's
isn't.
I mean, it's a lot, but it's not. I mean, right? You're not doing it every week.
Especially
don't
for a
think-
band that sucks live, right?
Yeah, it's very fun.
God.
We still people still comment on that. The I Ride the Lightning video, Chris mentioned that he thought, or that he rather flippantly said Metallica sucks live, and he did it in his whole like Metallica sucks live kind of way. And I still get notifications on my phone. I'll be like, oh, we get a new YouTube comment. Metallica sucks live. This guy's an idiot. He doesn't know anything about anything. And I'm like, yeah, that's cool. Thank you for
So
the
go watch
comment.
Metallica and think about that, and then go watch
Any other band?
Cannibal Corpse.
Taylor
And
Swift.
That's what I did last time. Speaking of that,
Yeah.
have you guys ever stayed up for an album now in the streaming era and Friday releases? Have you ever stayed up till midnight on Thursday to wait for an album to come out?
I've never done that.
Have you?
No, I'm usually up pretty late anyway, but not just specifically for this.
But you've listened to, but you've been like, oh, that record come out 5 minutes ago. I'm going to listen to it.
I think passively, yeah, I'm usually pretty far away from like whatever I'm doing. I'm usually gaming this late at night, so I don't pay attention to albums and stuff. But every once in a while, there's been a situation where it's like, oh, it is that time. Let's do it. And I'm sure that there's been a couple of times where I knew an album was coming that I was really looking forward to, but I don't recall actively staying up and waiting like I am for this now.
Do you think that's kind of cool that we're doing that, or what?
I do. I inadvertently did it for the last Taylor Swift record.
Oh,
Because I'm not really a Swiftie, but I'm sort of friends with someone who is.
sure.
Not you guys.
No.
Distant friends of my wife.
Although
guess.
I will say I don't hate Taylor Swift. I do enjoy a lot of her music, though I like her earlier career more than her.
Yes, because the last couple records have been trash.
I haven't listened to anything since Folklore.
I like that. There was a couple songs on the new one, but the guy that produced it, whatever his name is, the fun guy, like.
I'm really looking forward to this album.
Sorry.
Thank you, Chris, for wrapping up the we went way far away from where you were.
Okay, so Chris, do you want to talk about your expectations?
I think that they're probably pretty similar. Sorry. I really like Death Magnetic. I really like Hardwired. And I think that they gave us some hints as to what they're going to do. Lux Aeterna was the first one that came out, right?
Right, and all three of us have heard Lux Aeterna.
Yeah, and maybe I didn't. What was the other one that came out? Chris Parker?
They
released
Lux Aeterna
4
came out,
singles.
and If Darkness Had a Sun came out, and I think
72 Seasons just came out on March 30th. I know that.
Okay, I listened to Lux Aeterna like 4 or 5 times, and I
Screaming Suicide track 3 is
that
also
one I listened. I think I listened to Screaming Suicide once. I don't even remember it. I probably will when we hear it, but I think that they kind of told us what they're going to do, and I think that they're going to try to do like thrash metal again, which is cool. And you know what though, like I mean, I do want to pay the big money to see Metallica one more time, and that might be it for me. Because like I'd rather go to 5 other shows,
Right. For the money, for the cost
Metallica
of
ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to Carcass and Municipal Waste next week. I'm very excited about that.
That's awesome.
Anyway.
Hey, those are the 2 bands that I mentioned about that
I know.
thrash, so
I
that's
thought that
weird
was
that
really
they're
funny.
touring together.
Yeah, which are I really love, especially Municipal Waste, and Carcass is great too. But I think that they told us what they're going to do, and that's sort of a Metallica-y thing to do, to give us a hint. And
I looked on Wikipedia because we were kind of joking last time about how there could be like a song featuring Lady Gaga or something. in the credits for the album that they have listed so far on there, there's like no guest artist on any song.
I don't think that they would do that on
Well,
a record.
I don't think they would do
Probably
it.
not, but
Maybe there would be like an EP that came out afterwards. It's like Metallica with guests or whatever. But like that would have been so cool if they would have done something with Lady Gaga.
we can look really I'm sorry, Chris. I can't see you right now if you want to have something to say, but I went to the Wikipedia article real quick. One thing I did want to point out, the length of this album is 77 minutes and 10 seconds long, which 78 minutes is the absolute maximum you can fit onto a CD. It's actually 70. The standard Red Book for a CD is 74 minutes. The most you can fit on a CD while it will still be considered being able to play on any, which actually I don't know if it's a double album or not in terms of like if the CD has, like Hardwired is 2 CDs. But 77 minutes is one of the longest albums, is like single albums that I've come across.
Why didn't they cut off 5 minutes and 10 seconds and make it 72 minutes?
I feel
Come
like they
on, no, make it as long as you want, man.
73 minutes and 10 seconds, and then it would have been like, wait.
74 minutes is the longest. It is 77
I
minutes.
had a joke there, but I don't. I lost it.
Something about 666. But anyway.
Have either of you listened to Lulu?
Yeah. We didn't talk about that last time.
Chris, he has listened to Lulu. We've joked about it in our videos.
I listened to it in its entirety fairly recently. One of my friends
is
and I.
it?
Have you ever listened to it?
I've tried to listen to it and found it to be just completely unlistenable.
See, I don't even know what it is. Like, I know you know that it, I know it's like Lou Reed.
We should do that sometime. I mean, it is. You know, Trout Mask Replica.
No.
That Captain Beefheart record. That's another thing, man. Anyway, that Lulu record. One of my friends and I were talking about Metallica, like you do, and we brought up Lulu, and he'd said that he'd never listened to it, and so I dared him. I said, if you listen to the whole record, I'll listen to the whole record. And so we were not together.
Right.
He was at work and I was at work, and I sat there and I listened to the whole thing. And yeah, it's terrible. But
Thank God. This whole time I've been waiting I'm in like dreading that you're going to be like, you know what, it's really not too bad. Like,
but it's just so. It's so whatever. We're not here to talk about that. We could do that.
Speaking of that, I did just want to point out, they do have listed on here that the album was produced, mixed, and recorded by Greg Fidelman. And I thought he's someone that's worked on their last many projects, basically. But he has also done the most recent Slipknot. He's worked with Slipknot, Black Sabbath, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Adele, Slayer, lots of things just over his career. He also got the privilege of being able to work with Johnny Cash on his last few albums, which is really cool. I think those albums sound fantastic.
What a guy.
Yeah. But he's worked with a bunch of different people, and he did do Metallica's, he recorded and mixed and produced 72 Seasons, S&M 2. He worked on Hardwired to Self-Destruct, Lulu, and I believe Death Magnetic as well. Yeah, Death Magnetic as well. So he has been working with Metallica for quite a while. And so I'm curious to see, having not heard any of those other albums that I just mentioned, I don't know what those albums sound like sonically. I don't know, if this is going to sound similar to that or not. The other thing I wanted to mention was the mastering was done by Bob Ludwig. And he is someone that's like just a total legend in mastering, and he has done so many things, but he actually does lots of mastering. He's
almost 80 years old.
Yeah. He's done, he's won many Grammys and things for movie soundtracks and scores and things. But he's also worked on a lot of very famous albums, and I can't even go into all of them, but he's like someone that's like probably one of the biggest names in all of mastering that's still alive. But it says right on here, he worked for Led Zeppelin, Lou Reed, Queen, Jimi Hendrix, Paul McCartney, Nirvana, Bruce Springsteen. He did the Daft Punk, which by the way, Chris Parker, did you know that one of the dudes from Daft Punk released a new album? I think today it comes out.
Is it Daft or Punk?
It's neither. It's a ballet. It's a classical album. It's ballet, and it's the first thing that the guy has done. And the reason it's been making all these rounds on the internet that I've been seeing is that he's been doing a lot of interviews to promote it. And I don't know if you know that much about Daft Punk, Chris, but like they never ever did interviews because Daft Punk they were like aliens or robots, right? Yeah. So they weren't actually people. Well, now the guy's just like totally broke his silence, and he'll answer any question in interviews.
Wait, didn't one of those dudes have one of those masterclass things?
That was one thing that they've done since they recorded.
No, it was Dead Mouse.
Well, Deadmau5 probably did that too, but they've been doing more things where they talk about things.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, sorry, we're here to listen to Metallica. Sorry,
Let's listen to Metallica.
we're getting distracted.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, are you ready, Chris Parker?
I'm so ready.
What we're gonna do for people watching is you're gonna be hearing what Chris Schoenberg and I are listening to, and Chris is gonna listen to Chris Parker. Yeah, it's confusing. Chris Parker is gonna listen on his own end, but we're gonna sync up and everything, and so. Yeah, it really doesn't have any effect on anything, but just to let the people watching know how we're going to be doing it. I'll be doing countdowns, so if for whatever reason something terrible happens and I have to end up uploading this video without the music in it, just know I will do countdowns so you can sync up your own copy of the album with us. So, all right. You guys, this is the first time you're going to get to hear brand new Metallica since 2016, I think is what the year.
It's been a long 7 years.
Wow. I'm excited.
Yeah.
The first minute, the first song is almost 8 minutes long.
Yeah, the songs are all long. The last track is 11 minutes long.
Does it start off with acoustic guitar?
Oh, I was going to ask that. Do we think there's going to be acoustic guitar on this album?
If it doesn't start with acoustic guitar, I will be a little bit disappointed.
If the album doesn't?
No, because it should, right? I mean, like, do Battery. They have to know that that's the best album opener of like all time.
Well, but also Ride the Lightning Ride the Lightning and Master of Puppets both started with acoustic guitar.
Yeah. So,
yes.
And if they're trying to go back to thrash, then this should start with the acoustic guitar.
But they're not going back to it anymore, right? Because Hardwired and Death Magnetic were both thrashy albums, right?
I think that this is going to be even more 80s.
If only we could find out.
Okay. I'm sorry. We'll get to it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. 72 Seasons. 3, 2, 1.
Nope.
Distorted bass. I'm going to open my Kickstart. Yellow Drink for Yellow album cover. Ooh. I wanted to just shout out, I wonder if we're going to be getting any strings on this album. If they do like a cool ballad. Brain Stew. Listen to that distorted bass go. All right,
Yeah.
I like it.
Hi-hat's on the wrong side.
It's on the right side for me. I have a cable that reverses my stereo image. The guitars are not very distorted, which is exactly
they're not
what.
very high-endy. Yeah.
That was one of the things that I noticed about Lux Aeterna. I was like, oh, I like the way the guitars sound not overly distorted. I'm gonna turn it up actually a smidge. Dude, I like this. This is like. It's not very thrashy though. It's more classic rocky, right?
Yeah.
Or I don't know what we would just call it. Dude, I love the snare and the vocals together.
Vocals are low.
In the mix a little bit, yeah. Harmony vocals. I like this. I like the way it sounds even. Like, and it's not the best thing I've ever heard, but it's got that more of like a raw thrashy mix to it.
It does sound raw.
Godsmack. So is this verse 2 then?
I guess.
That's
yeah.
how the first verse started. Do you need something? Kleenex? They're over there. Oh, you want to take notes? Oh,
I won't. I have them up here.
okay. I can get you something if you need them. Dude, that's catchy. It's simple.
Yeah.
Key change? The hi-hats are really splashy. Man, they go away when that kick hits too.
Oh, they do.
Yeah. That almost sounds like an edit rather than a
It's
sidechain
it's
compression.
Oh.
You think?
I don't think that's James Hetfield.
Could that have been Robert or whatever, the bass player?
Might be. Just melodic lead guitar, love it.
Yeah. I think he's stopping the hi-hat. Yeah. Because it's not doing it every time the kick or the snare hits. I'm not saying he's stopping it, like grabbing it, stopping it. I think he just lifts his foot off for a second to get that. Am I gonna have a Metallica album in my top 12 albums of the year? If this whole album is this good, I'm loving this. What is he saying? Grab the man?
Breath of Man?
It could be Wrath. That's totally
Oh,
sound.
it's Wrath of Man.
Wrath of Man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dude.
I like it.
Dude, yes. Okay, Chris, we talked a little bit there. How do you feel?
Hot take it right out of the gate.
They play around. They play around with like.
And for those of you who don't know,
Structure.
Chris Parker has said in a previous one of my videos that Metallica is, he thinks, his favorite band.
Yes,
His number one
of all
band.
time.
So just for some context.
They play around with the structure and like just like every time you think it's going to go one way, they stop and turn it a different way. And this, like, they do a lot of changes. Their transitions are some of the things that people like the most about their music over, like, especially longer songs like this. But they really did it a lot in this. It's just like, nope. Then it just constantly, almost too much, where it's like, pick a direction and just give me a little bit more of that. Not to the point where I'm complaining about it, but it was really something.
But they did go back to the chorus at the end there again. But did they do that part 4 times, or was that only the 3rd time at the end? I kind of got a little lost in the middle.
I think it must have been 4.
I was not counting. See,
I think
that's
it
why
was.
I need to take notes.
I think it was 4 as well. Do you want me to get? I can get a piece of paper. No problem. I got
get a
stuff
piece of
right
paper.
over
I'm
there.
going to talk while you're gone.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Don't look at my shorts or my legs.
I liked it. I don't think that sounded like it was an 8-minute long song. I thought it was interesting the whole time, partially from what you said, Chris Parker.
You know, if it's just you and me, you probably don't need to use my first and last name.
Oh, I guess so. Yes. I think that I could really listen to probably nearly 8 minutes of Metallica doing that thing at the end where they turn that riff around where when they
slow half tempo.
Yeah, and when they do it the thrashy way, and then I have noticed that it has become a thing in Metallica records.
If you want, you can use a different page for each song or whatever if you want. Like, whatever. Don't
can
use
do
the
it.
whole thing.
Don't look at this. I have bad handwriting, and
I'm going to zoom in on it every time you write.
I'm
going to, like, super zoom right in on your
I'm just
handwriting.
drawing on here.
I can't beep those out with 1,000 hertz.
So that riff thing that they do,
half-tempo?
that happens a lot. Yeah, I guess they are doing half tempo on the drums. And then it seems like I can't remember what song or what record it was on, but it was on one of the last 2 records. And I think that this has become a thing in Metallica songs where they just do 1/8 or 16ths on the E string for a long time, and they did that in this song too. And
that repeating
freaking
part.
love it.
Yeah, it was interesting too. Yeah.
No, it's on All Nightmare Long, where they do
that
that
song
for
is
like
so
1,000
good.
years. Just
That song is so good.
I've heard that one. So.
I will say, from a mixing perspective, that hi-hat that he's going through, like the whole song, it's just like it's right here and it never gets lost, which was really interesting.
Well, we were really commenting on the hi-hat during the middle section there that sounded really sidechain compressed at a certain point. But I think he was stopping. The more I was listening to it, I think that he just played it so that it was like and he was just doing the stop when I think it was a kick.
It was on the kicks that it was stopping.
Yeah, and so I think that was an intentional thing, maybe. I'm not saying it was the best decision in the world, but like it was something that stuck out to me. But the hi-hats as well, I thought the same thing, Chris Parker. I was like, they're very washy sounding. When you have an open hi-hat, it can sometimes sound very China-y, very like...
Yep.
I don't know, it's kind of hard, but like you hear the cymbal like rattle against itself multiple times, whereas if it's just a constant, like more of like a constant ring, that's what I would consider to be splashy rather than, I don't know what the technical terminology is, but like obviously it was open hi-hats being played a lot there very fast. So the hi-hat sound was just a continuous sound, but I really felt like you could hear it. Like it almost sounded to me like they were using fake hi-hats and they were just overlapping each other. Like it did. I know that that's not how they did it, or at least I'm pretty sure that they didn't do it that way. Who knows? I'm sure Lars probably didn't play a whole electronic kit the whole album.
We're gonna get to Lux Aeterna soon enough.
Okay.
I love the song.
First impression was good for everybody.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, and I do kind of like how it sounds raw, and that is sort of a Metallica thing. Like, has Metallica ever had like a super highly produced, like really
I was just
slick
thinking about
record?
that exact point.
Well, that's what I've always thought with that Turn the Page sounds like so slick sounding and really good.
It was the 90s.
Yeah, but I mean, even Enter Sandman and that stuff that we listened to last time was very slick sounding, but like it could have sounded more poppy, like. Not that they would have, but
no, that record. Okay, maybe with that.
I don't
know. I really like the song. I'm really happy to be listening to new Metallica, and I'm saying all of this because now I'm going to say the things I don't like about that mix.
Okay.
The vocals are too low.
Yeah.
Full stop.
Interesting.
I thought that too.
You can hear them, and other than that one line, and that's just James.
They're in the
Hetfield,
acceptable pocket, as I always say.
They are.
They're on the lower
they're
end
on the
of it.
lower end of the acceptable pocket. You can hear the words, and there is a hole in the middle, right? There is a frequency hole in the middle to get those vocals through, and there's lots of reverb, and there's even lyrical delays on there and stuff in some spots.
Yeah.
But I think they're too low, and I don't like the decision about the hi-hat. That's a hi-hat solo. That's an 8-minute hi-hat solo. And I mean, I don't know. Maybe it was supposed to be like that. Also, I'm slightly disappointed that it didn't start off with an acoustic guitar.
Right.
Just give it to us. Like weird. I mean, right? The people that, I don't know. It did start weird with the bass thing just going for a long time, and then having those weird sort of like rock and roll chords or something almost, or bluesy chords. Yeah.
I don't know. The beginning of the song feels so long ago. I feel like there was a certain point where the intro stopped, and then the rest of the song was just the song. But the intro of the song, I feel like, was kind of detached from the rest of the song, and I almost have a hard time remembering what it was now. So that's to me where it got a little bit long. But once the song kicked in, when the first time we heard the da 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 da, and he was doing the words along with the snare drum, which I thought was a really clever, very simple rhythmic thing to do, and it was just like, wow, what a really cool way to make this song probably stand out from the other songs on the album. I doubt they'll do that again. Just a stupid, simple
That's
thing.
sort of a Metallica thing, though. That happens in other Metallica songs where there's stuff like lined right up with the snare drum. Maybe vocals. I'm trying to think of a song.
Well, he always does like vocal attacks with the music, obviously. Master, like that's clearly like a thing. But this was just sort of like a da 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 da. Yeah. Now, one thing I was going to ask you guys. A lot of people talk about and comment on their age, and usually what they're talking about when they're referencing the age of the dudes in Metallica is like, can they still play as fast as they normally would? But here's a question I have for you guys. If you were an aging musician and you knew that like you maybe couldn't necessarily play everything as perfect as you used to do and everything, how would you write your songs differently so that it wouldn't be like super obvious? And I want you to see if you notice them doing anything. Like Kirk's solo there never had a moment in any of his solos through the whole song where he was like going up and down the neck of the guitar. He just stayed in one spot and then did like
That's also a pretty Kirk Hammett thing
right,
to do.
right. And I know that just a little bit from that, but like that just got me thinking, like if they did start to have some limitations because of their age, which I mean, who could blame them? And I really loved what we just heard, so I'm not saying anything about it at all, but like, how would you write songs differently? And then as we listen to it, let's think like maybe, do you think that there's anything they would have done differently had they been younger when they wrote these songs? Just as I know that's kind of a weird thing to say and to think about, and I don't want it to distract me while I'm listening, but
on that same kind of note, I was wondering because that 16th note, because that's been a Metallica thing on the last couple records, that I wonder if James Hetfield doesn't do that to say, look here,
I can still do this.
Mother bleepers.
Yeah,
I'm still the best rhythm guitar player that's ever existed.
I would if I were him.
But there was a whole lot of Metallica stuff. There was a whole lot of stuff that Metallica does in that song. Yeah. And I wonder if that was intentional and to be the album opener, like, okay, you guys want Metallica, like here's a whole lot of what we do except acoustic. Now let me ask this then,
since I haven't heard Death Magnetic or Hardwired, which is considered their sort of like return to form albums, on those albums, do they have slower ballad songs on there, or are all the songs pretty much?
One of them's got Unforgiven 3 for sure. That's on Death Magnetic.
Yeah.
I don't think there's no ballady songs on Hardwired, but there is a couple that are kind of almost like a moody bass-driven thing that aren't nearly as fast.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, so it's just a slower, more groovy one, kind of akin to Black Album, or? I
would say there's actually one that reminds me a lot of Devil's Dance from Reload, but you don't know what that is.
Yeah.
So
I'm just curious if we're gonna if all the songs are gonna be more reminiscent of like, because to me that song reminded me a lot more of Ride the Lightning than With again, that's my limited experience because
That's great though.
the thing that really caught me on Ride the Lightning, and you'll remember in our video, was exactly what Chris's first comment was. It sounded like a lot of different sections of songs kind of thrown together, and they weren't necessarily done to death, but there was a lot of switching up the riff, like switch.
I can't wait till we listen to All Nightmare Long together.
Okay.
What'd you say? All Nightmare Long?
Yeah, because Patrick was saying, "Oh, here's a bunch of song sections that are all smashed together," and
Man,
like
that
that
song
that
is
is
so damn
why
good.
All Nightmare Long is so great.
Okay. All right. Little tease there. For what's to come.
Here's a prediction I will make. Now, that
I
we've
think
listened
he's
to
gonna love "Spit Out the Bone." I think that'll be his favorite song from.
You know, I
Hardwired.
wouldn't have said that before we started doing this Metallica thing with Patrick, but now I might actually think that I think that might be the case.
Okay.
I'm gonna go ahead and make a prediction right now, and I'm gonna write this on the paper.
Lefty over here.
Oh yeah, that's why I'm so much more smart and handsome than you guys. Prediction number 1. After listening to the first song, no slow songs on this record.
Okay.
I'm gonna write it down.
I'm curious about that. I personally hope that there are.
I think there's
going to
be a heavy one, but I don't think that
Now,
there's
bear
going
in
to be
mind,
like any.
there's 13 songs.
12.
But there's 12 tracks. So
Okay.
12 fast
gonna
tracks
throw
might
out-
be a little too much.
I'm gonna say that 11-minute song is instrumental.
Okay.
And it's the last track, so that totally makes sense
Chris
to me.
Parker 11-minute song is instrumental.
I really hope that's not the case, but if it is, okay, sure. I'm going to say we're going to get one song with strings.
I'm into that.
It didn't say,
You're wrong.
it didn't say that on the wiki page, and I think it probably would have, but the album
Yeah,
just was
that's
released
true.
today, so they didn't have all the liner notes and whatnot on there. So I would really I hope we get that.
Oh,
If you could, here's one. If we're all going to go ahead and assume that there's at least one slower or ballad-esque type song, which one, based on the titles, just the track list, which one do you think it's going to be?
Sleepwalk My Life Away.
I was thinking 8, Chasing Light.
yeah, that's where my mind went first, but I was also reading the tracks from the bottom to the top.
Dude, their song titles are so cool. Room of Mirrors, Too Far Gone, If Darkness Had a Sun.
Two that end with A's, though, where the word ends with A. Lux Aeterna and Inamorata.
Well, that's Latin. Those are the Latin influences.
Inamorata.
But they also have Crown of Barbed Wire, which is interesting because that's probably a reference, biblical type of reference thing,
Inamorata.
which they do have in a lot of their music.
Okay,
Okay.
Let's find out what they sound
let's
like.
do the next one.
Okay, are you ready, Chris? Track 2?
I want to say real quick,
Okay.
I cannot hear a single thing you guys say during the songs. So
That's
Well,
what,
that's a bummer, but we'll keep that in mind. Okay, track 2, 3, 2, 1.
huge.
Yes. This is reminding me of a different Metallica song. Whoa. Listen to that bass.
yeah.
Oh. Dude, that's like a southerny, like southern country fried riff, right?
That ending there is a little bit high school, but that's all right. They can get away with it.
You got to give those high school kids something to practice.
Yeah,
you know?
right.
Very raspy, his voice is. Very raspy. It like legit sounds twangy. But that's because it's not overly distorted, right? That's just how a guitar sounds when it's somewhat distorted and you hit one string low. That sounds like Bon Jovi. Wow.
Ooh, I like that.
Was that the chorus? Was that the whole chorus?
I guess. It felt like the outro of a chorus. Yeah. No, that's Aerosmith. That sounds like Steven Tyler.
That's like that.
Ah, yeah. How many stops is that? 8? Is that 2 whole measures?
Yeah, it is.
Yes.
There's that hi-hat in there, just never goes away.
Is that... You think that's,
Yeah.
James?
No, that's Kirk. But it's on the harmonies probably.
Yep.
James.
Metallica featuring Steven Tyler.
Cool.
Huh. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, Batman!
It's awesome.
It is cool. That is totally Batman.
It's the first little bit of that chromatic
It is.
from the riff, right?
They're having fun. They are having fun.
Oh, and there's
Yeah.
guitar noises at the end, right? You can,
Yep,
right? Like
yep,
you hear him
yep.
stop. That's fun.
Dude, yes, that was interesting.
awesome.
You know, they didn't go back to that guitar riff from the beginning of the song at the end, did they?
No,
They didn't go back to that twangy guitar riff that was at the beginning.
there's so many riffs.
There was a lot, yeah. Chris, first of all, I don't know if you heard any of this. That was absolutely Metallica featuring Steven Tyler, because that sounded like Aerosmith. Screaming,
Yes.
whatever it was. It sounded just like Aerosmith.
I was
know-
going to say, the thing that's starting to stand out to me after just the 2 songs so far is that they're doing a lot of things that you've never heard Metallica do before.
Okay. And then also,
I like that because it makes it seem like they still are interested in doing this. They're not doing it because somebody said they should. They're doing it because they want to do it.
That was sort of the thing we were just ended on there. That it sounds to me like they're having fun. Mm-hmm. Now, did you catch the Batman reference in that last riff there?
Oh yeah, I didn't recognize it as Batman until I heard you say it. But then it was like, oh yeah, that's why I recognize it.
I love it. I love it. All right, Chris, hit us with your notes. What are you thinking?
Oh,
Or I don't care if you have notes.
A prediction that I have is that those harmonies will be ripped apart in the reviews.
Yeah.
Or like, maybe not ripped apart, but like, what the f was...
I thought it was
Sorry.
cool that he was doing that. I'd never heard him sound like that.
Do you think that was James doing all those vocals?
Yeah.
I mean, it has to be because it's Metallica, and so maybe that's what we were hearing in the first song too. Where I was like, "That's not James Hetfield."
You think it was just James?
Maybe he was, and maybe he did some vocal stuff, and then they went on the auto tune.
Now, I will say, and I don't know how it normally is when they perform live, but when I was watching them perform on Jimmy Fallon, both Kirk and the bass player did background vocals.
Yeah, they always do.
So I would assume that the kind of like shouty stuff and whatnot. Lars had a microphone in front of him too, but I don't know if he was doing singing.
They don't know what to do with background vocals since Jason left. Like he was background vocal king for Metallica, and then I mean Rob.
Yeah, but it works sometimes on this stuff.
I think the singing on that was not good. Right? Like
really?
The chorus part, like
I liked it.
It just didn't sound like Metallica at all. It was shocking.
True.
Like I didn't mind the part, but it was like shockingly surprising. Like I don't know if I would say that in like a good way.
The harmony thing. I'm gonna have to sit with that for a minute.
I don't know.
I like the song. I like the riffs.
I like the main guitar riff when it first started. And Chris, one of the things I was saying was, with my limited experience, with like that guitar riff at the beginning to me sounded sort of like twangy almost. Mm-hmm. And I really enjoy that. I like that sort of a sound. And I think one of the reasons it sounds that way is because they don't have their guitars super distorted. They don't have the distortion and the gain knob turned all the way up. They have... You can really hear the definition in the guitars and what they're playing, and that's usually the sound you get when you don't have guitars cranked all the way up to 11.
This album so far sounds fantastic.
Yeah, I think so too.
I like the way it
the
sounded.
vocals are really low, and I think that more of what you're hearing is the lack of high frequency that you probably associate with distortion, because I think that
the white noisiness.
It sounds a little bit like fuzz, like in the guitar effect way, more than I think the guitars sound great.
I'll say I think it was Kirk's second solo in this song. It was a whammy. No.
Wah.
It was wah, but for some reason I really liked it a lot. Like I generally don't tend to enjoy his wah part
thing.
No, the actual solo.
Oh, okay.
The actual solo. I really enjoyed it the moment it started all the way through. And I don't know why. Like, I don't know if he did anything different, if it was just like more of a bluesy lick or something that would appeal to me more, or I don't know.
There's something that has been true about modern Metallica that I've never been able to figure out in terms of how they sound and how, like, everything that Metallica made after Black has a specific way that it sounds that wasn't true before, and it's in that second solo of Kirk's that you're talking about was the most purest, distilled version of modern Metallica sound that I can think of. Like it's all over load, it's all over reload. Like that's the King Nothing sound 1,000%. Like whatever they've done, where he's just decided that's how his guitar sounds, that's how it sounds, and everything they do sounds that way. It's not a complaint, but it's something that I find very interesting.
So there was the Batman thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
But then also that descending riff, that one, especially the first time that came in, that riff is freaking sweet.
Yeah.
But it is sort of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Right? Like
that's what I thought I could hear it doing something.
That song rips.
Yeah,
1,
it
2,
does.
3, 4, 5 song like that. Anyway, but yeah, that was good. And the snare sound. That's my first note here. This starts out with a lot of snare. And the snare sound rips. It's so good.
Shout out to their like the stop thing that they do all the time. This is probably the most times they've done it sequentially in a song, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Yeah, and a chorus.
Yeah, to end the chorus or whatever. And then they repeated it twice, the second and third time as well. So
I really like the way the vocal resolved in the chorus too. I thought he did something just a little bit at the end that was really cool, very catchy.
Yeah. All right, should we move on?
Yes.
Metallica is good at songs. That was one of my notes.
You heard it here first, folks.
Good at songs. Okay, this is Screaming Suicide. I believe this is one of the songs that they released beforehand. This one is the shortest one we've listened to so far, 5 minutes and 30 seconds. Excuse me. Are you ready, Chris?
Yep.
3, 2, 1.
I have heard this one.
Okay.
Trigun.
Oh, I love. Yes, that is so anime. Twisted Metal soundtrack. Kick sounds different this one. You really hear the beater more.
A little bit. It was still pretty punchy in the other one.
Yeah, yeah.
That riff at the end of those lines is so good.
His vocal.
No, the guitar. A little chromatic build-up thing.
Love that.
Nice vibrato in his vocal there. Harmony vocals. Oh, that's cool.
Ooh. Again.
I was going to ask you this earlier. Are the guitars unbalanced? Not to ruin it for you.
Like they are on all of them.
They are? Okay.
I think so. They're heavy on the James side.
Which would be your left side, right?
Yeah. Do you think so?
I thought it was heavy on my right, so yeah. He's stopping the hi-hats again.
Terrified in sleepless nights, caught in spotlight, dead to rights. Isolate and fight your mind, telling you you're left behind.
God, I love that.
I love it when they do this. Creeping Death. And then this.
It's a Metallica record.
Terrified, sleepless nights, caught in spotlight, dead to rights. Isolate and
Are his vocals up a little bit more in this one, or is it just that we've grown accustomed to him?
We're getting used to it.
Now you speak my name. You've given back the flame. Keep me deep inside. Don't you keep me inside, screaming suicide.
Yeah.
Now that I'm exposed inside, shine the light on cyanide. I'm no longer needed here. Now you face your biggest
Back into anime for the ending.
Yeah. That was the most Twisted Metal song we've heard so far, Chris. I think.
I like that one. I liked it the first time I heard it, and I liked it this time.
Okay.
Same.
I thought his vibrato was really noticeable in the chorus in a good way. I thought he did a good job with it. That was one thing I was going to mention as well when we got to a point that made sense. But watching them perform live on Jimmy Kimmel, which again, for people watching, like I'm not familiar with how they normally perform live, so I don't know. But like one thing I really noticed was that even when they did Master of Puppets, James was like singing a lot more than he was like doing this sort of shouty yell thing that he's done his entire career that we've heard up to this point. Lot more singing, lot more clean vocals. Just like, you know, occasionally he would go into more of like a gruff sort of a sounding thing, but for the most part, it was way more singy than he definitely performed on those albums, on their first few albums. Yeah. And like I really noticed that, and like the way he's singing here in the choruses to me sounded a lot like the way he just basically performed all the vocals when they were performing live. I noticed that specifically. There were moments, you know, where he would do this sort of more of a gruff thing, but for the most part, everything was a lot more singy sounding rather than the sort of shouty vocal he normally does on the album.
So there's a lot of guys that started in the era that Metallica did. I'm thinking of a band with, anyway, Why Hide It, Motley Crue, that like got considerably worse, and then, but James Hetfield hasn't gotten worse.
Oh, I think he's
great.
a way better singer and probably.
I mean,
now.
as like a singer,
right.
a vocalist. You could. That's a taste thing, but I think
He
he's
probably
great.
has a limited amount of availability of that gruff, shouty, like kind of thing that he does, and then he has to ration it very carefully, especially when they're touring, where it's like, I'm not going to give Jimmy Kimmel this because I have real shows to play, and I can only do this sometimes. And I think that he probably throws singing in to sort of supplement that, so that he doesn't tear his voice all up and turn into those guys because he's 60 now.
Yeah. Well, and also performing on a late night show or whatever is probably quite different than doing a whole, you know, however long their set will be, probably an hour plus, I would imagine.
It'll be, I'm sure, 90 minutes or more.
Yeah. So like doing that for a whole heavy metal concert is way different vibe than just like performing one song on a late night show. But still, it was something I wanted to point out. So I liked that song. I thought there was a lot more like parts of it almost sounded like they were using like slide guitar stuff, but they weren't, I'm sure, right? But that's like a technique they could be using, right, for some of those riffs at the end, especially. It sounded very almost slide guitar-y.
Oh, yeah, I guess I could see where you'd think that from the timbre.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know that much about that kind of stuff, but that was I don't know. I feel like I have less to say about that song.
I liked it a lot. I don't think that we've talked yet. We have the kick and the snare sound really good.
Yeah.
They have been consistently. And
I did notice the kick more on this song.
I think so. The last one was punchy too. I was thinking in the last one, which was Shadows Follow, I was thinking about the click of the kick, and it's which is a fun phrase to say, the click of the kick.
Very loose sounding kick.
Yeah, but it's meaty.
Yeah,
it's punchy.
You really hear the beater.
The bass tone is very, very good on this record. That is what you're supposed to do with metal bass. It's supposed to be deep, but it's also supposed to be rattly and you know, whatever. Robert's no slouch. So I came up with a theory while we were listening to this song.
Okay.
I would say that on this record and on another one or two or all of the Metallica records that we've listened to, I would say that the drums are panned backwards. I really like my hi-hat in my left ear. And actually, in a couple of these songs, what has not bothered me, but brought to my attention,
Right.
when he does the floor tom and it's really hard left.
Oh.
There's been a couple, and I'm like,
that should always be hard right.
Yep. I understand.
Right. And like, it's fine. I know it's a taste thing. It's also that way on the Rage Against the Machine records, which I recently listened to, and I'm like, oh God, the hi-hat's on the wrong side. But now my theory is James is in the
On
left
the other side
of Metallica. So is it not because is James being on the way that they pan stuff, James on the left, hi-hat on the right, is it not because of the band thing between James and Kirk? Because it's between James and Lars's hi-hat.
Ah. On this album especially, the most prominent thing we've heard in every song so far is the hi-hat. Yeah.
It's really in there all over the place. It doesn't sound bad, and it's a good thing because if it did, it would ruin it.
If it was more high-endy.
Yeah, but it's not.
It's not. And
yeah.
the whole there's like not really much super high freak
in the song at all.
Is it because it was mastered by an 80-year-old guy?
I don't know. But good question. I would think he boosts the high frequencies.
Or maybe he just high passes everything at like 10K because he's
Probably.
like, I don't know what's going on up there, so I can't. I'm not saying that. I'm sure that somebody younger listens to the stuff too. But maybe, I don't know. Maybe that's there's some Metallica mythos that you guys can discuss down in the comments.
All right, you ready to move on, Chris?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, track 4, Sleepwalk My Life Away. 7 minutes long. You ready? 3, 2, 1.
Ooh.
It's not a ballad.
Ooh.
That bass tone.
Who is this? What band is this? Oh, there they are.
Is that with an octave pedal on or something?
Listen to that bass.
Because that's more than just one track of guitar, right? Or is it?
I think it's just double tracked. It's not
You think?
pickup.
Maybe.
It's like neck pickup.
Ooh.
Little mute kill switch action
Very
there.
cool.
Probably done in post.
I love it.
It's really vocal. That's nice sounding.
Half tempo.
Rare moment of guitar balance. Coming in on the second line of the verse, in very James Hetfield style.
Yep. Dude, that Enter Sandman riff. Boom, boom, da da da.
Oh yeah.
Da da da. Da da. I mean, it's in there.
Yeah, for sure. A little bit of
This is very
auto-tune there.
What the heck? That should have been shout vocals. I love the verse riff. This is cool.
It is super cool.
Dude, that reminds me so much of something. I can't think of what it is. And that's the pre-chorus. This is the chorus, huh? Beating. And this is like the riff from the verse. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. Yeah. Oh my god, that reminds me of something so much. Is it Soundgarden or something like that? I don't. Audio Slave maybe, or what's that dude's other band?
Yeah.
Is that Soundgarden?
Soundgarden, Audio Slave, Chris Cornell.
Yeah, Chris Cornell. But he doesn't sound like Chris Cornell.
Well, no, but that...
But I mean, there's kind of like maybe an Alice in Chainsy type of thing or something like that. I don't know. Really long middle section to this song.
Yeah. Oh, a little bit of Lars there at the end.
That was good, right?
Right?
All right, Chris, Parker, what do you think?
That's probably the most late 90s sounding, like late 90s Metallica, late 90s sounding song that they've done in a while.
I don't even think you have to say Metallica.
Interesting. Okay.
The whole time I was trying to think of what that singy part there reminded me of, and I couldn't really put my finger on it exactly, but I did mention Soundgarden or Audio Slave or something like that.
Oh,
which
interesting.
would definitely be.
I
like
was
a
about
90s
ready
thing.
to start singing whatever chorus. I think probably the same one that you were thinking of, but
Probably. But yeah. So I agree with that. Very 90s sounding.
Are you not a fan of that singy part?
I liked it in this, I think.
I did too.
Okay. Yeah, I thought it sounded really great. And it's not, once again, I think there are some songs on Reload, and I think even more so in Garage, where that style, it would fit right in with those. I think
okay.
Because Garage came out in like 98, and it falls right in there.
This song really I feel like the middle section dragged on a little bit long. You know, his Kirk's solo, I really liked the first part of it a lot. And then he went into doing the sort of faster part where he kind of did like a descending line, and then he repeated the descending line, and then he went up a little bit and did the descending line again, and then continued it. And then they kept going, and he did it again. And I'm like, okay, okay. Then he went back to the style that he was doing at the first part of the solo. Then they ended it again with the descending thing. And I was like, that's a little bit too much.
If you didn't know that Patrick wasn't a guitar player, when he says descending line and then ascending line.
I'm not a guitar player, so I'm not.
I didn't even catch it till you said that. It's amazing.
Well, you're going down the neck of the guitar.
You go. That's
You're
up.
descending down the neck of the guitar.
This is up the neck. This is
yeah,
higher
but
notes.
the top of the guitar is the top, and the bottom of the guitar is the bottom. When you're descending, you're going down.
What if you
the neck
tip the
of the
guitar down?
I understand what you're saying. That the notes go lower the higher you up the neck you go. But in my brain, I'm just thinking you're descending, so you're going down to the bottom of the neck of the guitar. Yes. But that's just incorrect verbiage. Okay, that's fine. Just saying I can rationalize it. Okay,
that's fine. It's just it's not.
It's just not correct. Okay.
There's this thing that they've been doing since Death Magnetic, where it's almost like they're afraid to make a short song. And I feel like there's a lot of songs that they do where it's like, there's a lot of stuff here that makes the length make sense. And then there's songs like this where it's like, this could have been a 4-minute song. Mm-hmm. But it's like, no, we got to have everything be close to 7 minutes.
I think that if they keep doing this with all the different feels and so many good riffs, like the whole rest of it, like, I mean, I didn't get bored.
Sure.
I didn't really get bored either. I don't know. I thought, was Kirk's guitar solo impressive?
I don't know if...
Is it supposed to be?
Is it supposed to be?
I don't know. To me, it was, you could really like, I don't know. To me, it almost sounded like, I don't know. Like when he was he did the faster parts where he was descending or whatever. It just didn't really sound very timed correctly to me. I don't know. It felt very...
I kind of like that. And there was actually, I have a note.
It was very washy time-wise,
another song in Screaming Suicide. There was a very, very sloppy part with lots of string noise, and that was my favorite part of that solo.
Okay. So maybe that's just a taste thing. I don't know. I don't know. I'm so used to everything being like perfect sounding. And so like when I hear a solo like that, it kind of makes me go like, Like I really like the first part of that, which was when he was using the wah. I really enjoyed that part of the solo. But then when it got to be more of the like, I'm gonna do a bunch of notes here part, I didn't care for that as much.
Let's also not forget about how cool that bass intro was.
Oh yeah.
And how not Metallica sounding at all it was until the guitars showed up.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's true.
That was...
See, that's the problem with those 7-minute songs. I forget what the intro was.
I know
I think
it.
that's kind of the...
No, but that's you're probably right. Yeah, it could totally be.
All this others, like, I don't know. I'm maybe it's because of the hour of the day that it is, but I am just really liking all of this.
I wonder if I would be having a much harder time separating the songs if we weren't stopping and talking about them in between. Like if we were listening to this in one go, I think I don't know if I'd be enjoying it.
Oh, that'd
as
be
much.
Exhausting. I'd have no idea what to say.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying, like, I think that's...
And it would, I think, in a way... And I know that the negative connotation that's going to come across with this, but I am now, we're 4 songs in. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm starting to get the feeling like we are watching like the second half of the last season of a TV show. And I'm actually specifically thinking about Schitt's Creek. And that was done very poorly in Schitt's Creek, where they just like kept doing the same jokes over and over again. And it got a little bit weird. And I don't think that this is bad, but like, I kind of get that feeling like you said, like, oh, this is the Enter Sandman riff. And like, cause there's just so much Metallica does Metallica stuff in here that I'm like, oh, and in a way it's really good. Like, I think we've talked about, the Avril Lavigne record on the podcast before.
Yeah, you mentioned it. Yeah.
And like in a way that like I'm like not like my heart aflutter like I was listening to that Avril Lavigne record for the first time.
Right.
But I really like it. Like I like to hear Metallica do Metallica.
Yeah. Did you get the Enter Sandman riff in that song,
in the
Chris?
last Was it?
I
This
don't
song
think
or
I
last
did.
It was
I
this
didn't
song.
catch
Okay. Oh boy.
anything
The
like
whole
that.
the main riff of that song is basically just Enter Sandman with a couple extra notes.
Or different.
It's dun dum
different.
da da dum 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 da da dum dum.
Okay.
But there is new stuff thrown into, like the harmonies and that bass intro.
I don't
and-
say that in a bad way. Like, I love it when bands
I feel
reference
like-
themselves. So
I feel like they're innovating their own sound way more than you would expect any band that's this far into their career to be doing.
Well,
Yeah.
and they've made some big mistakes doing that, and so they can't
they got to be
going
careful,
too
I
far.
guess.
You haven't listened to Lulu,
No, why would I do that? I can't stand Lou Reed.
so you understand the eye on the table memes.
Crown Jewel, November 5th, Saudi Arabia is my match. Roman Reigns, you are the head of the table. But brother, in every industry I ever do, I am the table.
And that is an old reference, but I mean,
Oh man.
for that alone, I mean, I guess I will do the Lulu challenge with you remotely if you want. We don't even have to do it for the podcast.
Well, you've already
here.
heard it.
I'll do it again. I mean, because it's a little painful. It's like a thing.
If it's honestly bad, like, I want to react to it and listen to it.
Okay,
I mean,
let's. I mean,
I
if
want
we-
yeah, I'll react to it with you. Hell yeah, let's do it.
if
Let's do it.
it's so bad and we just don't enjoy doing it, we can switch to something good.
It's
But
just it's so weird. But you know, we're not talking about Lulu.
Yeah,
we're talking
let's-
about this is a great produced record.
I think
the
it sounds
lack
good.
of
Yes.
the lack of high frequency is a little weird, but I think it sounds good.
I agree. It's
I don't
not
miss it.
bothering me. Yeah.
What?
He said
I
I
don't
don't
miss
miss
it.
it. Yeah.
I think by now I don't, and maybe even the vocal level, either it's just a little bit louder or
We've grown more accustomed to it.
we've
like
grown
I said.
accustomed to it.
Yeah. But also, that first track didn't have very many overdubs at all. Every song we've listened to since then has a lot of vocal overdubs during choruses and things. And so that'll help make the vocals seem like there's a little bit more going on.
Another thing on production stuff. What record were we listening to? What Metallica record were we listening to when I said I cannot believe there was many production tricks in this?
Master Puppets.
Was it Master of Puppets?
You
think it
said it
was-
on Master Puppets and you said it on And Justice for All.
and I
I
probably
was gonna say I think it was Justice because I heard you say that.
Oh,
and I
maybe
didn't
it was
watch the
Justice
master
then.
video.
I am not hearing that this time.
It's way more subtle. Like, this track in the chorus, because the chorus wasn't that singy part. It was the next part where he did the ba ba, and then like he like started it with a shout. And when it happened the first time, I was like, that should have been a gang vocal.
oh yeah.
Remember? But that part, when he did it, every time in the background, you could hear the echo of it. Like, you could hear the delay.
I
of
mean,
it.
there's
And I know that's
stuff
not
like that, but
specifically
there's
what
not
you were
like
talking about.
auto panning
No,
and
no,
like
no.
weird sounds dropping in and dropping out, or stuff
No.
like on Justice where like it just like the electric guitars like sort of tastefully morph into acoustic guitars and like weird crap
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
Like it's
Although-
pretty
They did
straight
have
ahead
those-
rock and roll record.
Although this song did start with that weird like guitar sound effect thing.
Yeah, there was like the squeaky sort of pick on the string kind of.
That was this song. Yeah, that was this song.
No, for sure. Yeah, yeah, and that
4
was
hours ago.
on a completely no. It's related because I said how vocal that sounds. Like it kind of sounded like a
Yes.
voice.
Yeah.
I just found out yesterday that Paul Gilbert, if you guys are guitar fans and you're probably not, Paul Gilbert released this record just this year, just the other day, I think, that is a bunch of Dio songs, but he plays the vocals on guitar.
Oh,
And it's
that's
cool
interesting.
just to hear because Paul Gilbert is like so good. But like to hear somebody do that, and when I heard that, I'm like, oh, that's kind of like what Paul Gilbert did on this record that came out.
That's
But,
cool.
like,
That's an
it's-
interesting idea.
I like, yeah.
I like that. That's a good idea.
It probably took Paul Gilbert like 2 days to make that record, but you know,
That's all right.
yeah, it's good. I mean, he's just that good. Anyway,
Was he the guitarist for a band?
yeah, for Racer X and the bigger one, the was it just called Mr. Big?
Oh, I've heard
Yeah,
of that.
Mr.
A
Big.
band called Mr.
He's
Big.
just kind of like a shredder dude. He played on a bunch of stuff. He had some really popular videos in the early 90s about how to play really fast. And he's
Oh,
just like a
okay.
really nice,
Cool
I think
dude.
he's a really nice, cool guy from everything I've seen.
awesome.
I really like Paul Gilbert. Anyway,
All right. Are you ready to go on to the next one, Chris?
You must burn.
Yeah, I'm curious.
with an exclamation point.
Yeah. So is this going to be a rippin' fast song? Is my
This will be the
question.
ballad.
Don't they have another song? There's it's on one of these last two records here.
Well, they have a question mark later on the album.
This
Am
has
I
an exclamation
Savage?
point like Atlas Rise.
Atlas, that's what I was going to say. It was Atlas Rise. There's two punctuation marks on song titles on Hardwired, Am I Savage and Alice Rise. So that's fun.
See, here we get that on this one too. We have You Must Burn, and then later on we have Too Far Gone ?
Oh, is that the new Metallica thing? Are they going to
Two-
have to
two-
put out
two
two more
punctuation
records
marks?
so to have 2 punctuation marks? Because Death Magnetic has 0.
Ooh.
Anyway.
Okay, all right. You Must Burn. 3, 2, 1. Interesting reverb on the snare there. Yeah.
Catch a fire and burn all the misery. Thought fingers spin my mentality. Anger on the rise as the flames grow higher. Choke on the smoke of the funeral pyre. Backfire, killing all we've learned. History will burn. Burn it, smile as it burns to the ground. The perfecter wants you around. Question yourself, you may learn. Who's the next witch? You must burn. You must burn.
Song about cancel culture, huh? Which maybe all the songs have been so far, and I just didn't pay attention.
I've not been listening to lyrics at all.
In the name of hell, henchmen to conspire. Black figures loom as a dark desire. Inquisition serve, build your enemy. Tied to the stake, torching heresy. Flame out, killing all we've learned. History will burn. Burn that smile as it burns to the ground. The perfecter wants you around.
That symbol that's on the other side,
Self, you may learn.
Yeah.
it really weenie compared to the main crash symbol he's using in the chorus here. All right, what kind of a solo are we gonna get here?
I think we get another verse. Nope, solo.
Are they gonna double speed it, double time? Groove. I love that. That's cool.
Love it.
That's Alice in Chains, right?
Yeah.
Dude, that is cool.
That's cool.
That's a guitar amp with more than one, or microphone, multiple mics spread wide thing that they've done in the past. He really likes to repeat parts a lot, like melodically during solos. That's a very bluesy thing to do, I think. I don't. That's the difference between blues music and jazz music.
Ooh, yeah.
Yes.
Spacewalk.
Do that bass slide.
It's like,
Smile as it burns to the ground. The perfect don't want you around. Question yourself, you may learn. You are the witch, you must burn. You must burn.
I like this riff. And Kirk's noodling in there is cool too.
three endings. That was awesome.
Very different sounding song than we've got so far.
Yep.
Much more of what we were experiencing last time, Chris, with Black Album. More of that plodding feel.
Yeah. Did it sound to you like there was a super, super subtle, almost like a record scratching thing going on in the back of most of that song? It was like...
I never noticed
really,
that.
really faint.
I never noticed that.
I didn't
Okay.
notice it either.
You know what that could be? It could just be amp noise. Because there was a lot of space in that song.
Some of them.
So it could have been some sort of amp tone or something that was just getting...
Yeah, because it was so frequent that I started to think it probably wasn't intentional. Like it wasn't something that production element that was part of the song. It was like I'm picking up something, I'm not sure what it is.
Yeah, I never noticed that. I liked that song. Overall, I thought it was really good. At first, when it first started, I was like, oh, I don't know. This one might seem like it's going to be too long because it feels too slow. But
Yeah.
I didn't feel that way at all. I really liked that. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I'll go. I really liked that riff during before the solo came in. They kind of did a little noodly thing that was really cool. Not noodly. That was a bad way to say it. It was more simple. Like it was simple riff. And then the solo, and then after the solo, they did that riff that they did then repeated at the end. That was sort of like, it was when I brought up the fact that it sounds like one guitar track recorded with multiple microphones spread wide. That I really enjoyed that riff, that ba-da-da-da-da thing, with the low and then the high alternating part. The second time they repeated it in the bridge, Kirk was doing sort of like high harmony part, wah part over the top of it. And then when they brought that riff around again at the very end of the song, they kept that and Kirk was doing his own like riffing part over the top of that as well. I liked that part a lot. I really enjoyed that riff. And then the whole main riff of the song, that sludgy sort of crunchy thing, I really liked a lot. So, yeah.
There was, let's see, that really cool vocal thing that they did, that Alice in Chains style vocal
Yeah, only
thing.
once in the song they did that, just during the bridge.
I think that shows up one time in Garage Inc. on the second track, second disc. I can't quite remember what song, but it was really cool, very cool sounding. I liked that a lot. I was with you on the beginning where it was like, man, I don't know, this doing what I thought it was going to do. And then it got to the breakdown part where they're like, you know, gearing up to send into the rest of the song. And it was just like a
Yeah, they kept like teasing you with what they were going to do. Yeah. That's
like,
the thing
please.
Metallica just does.
Yeah, and I was like, please do something. Like, I didn't love that tease. It seemed to drag a little too long for how simple it was. But then it got into this really weird, like, jam band kind of like, you know, it really felt like it just lost its structure in a way that it wasn't bad. It was just, it became a different song where it's like, all right, now we're just going to chill out and we're going to play a bunch of weird stuff and we're just going to, it felt so organic, really. It was cool.
How did you feel about that song?
I liked it. I don't know that I maybe that's my least favorite one so far. Not a whole.
I mean, that's
what I would think. It might even be my least favorite one, actually. I don't know. I don't know. We'll have to get back to that.
I will say, I was going to say earlier, I have yet to come. We're not quite halfway through yet, but I haven't hit a song where it's like, yes, this one will be my favorite. Like,
okay.
I was thinking the same thing, but kind of the opposite. Like, I haven't heard one that was just like
terrible
either.
Yeah,
like what,
auto skip.
But it shouldn't be. I mean, it's been however long since the last record, and it's Metallica, so there shouldn't be stinkers.
Yeah.
There's probably
like
some
All Nightmare
that got
Long.
cut.
As soon as I heard All Nightmare Long, I was like, this is the song on this album. Yeah, this is the one.
I was right in the same boat. God, I love that song.
Good. I'm glad you guys got something to look forward to. Okay, let's just get Lux Aeterna over with.
Okay.
Now,
Lux
this
Aeterna.
one,
It's 3.5 minutes. I thought it was 7:03.
This one, though, the first time I heard this, I was shocked at the production.
Okay.
I do not think that this one is going. From what I remember, I mean, it's been a month or two or however long it's been since I've listened to it. I don't think that this one.
Actually, it's been since December. This song came out in December.
So that's the last time that I listened to this, and I do not remember it sounding
good. Like this?
I don't remember it sounding like this. I thought it sounded fine, other than like I thought that the kick sounded unbelievably fake.
Well, this could be a whole different mix of the song.
And that was going to
be a different master too.
Like right? Did they do a different mix or master for
the video?
For the there was a video.
Yeah, that was when the song first came out. They released a music video. That was the day that they announced this album and everything.
Music videos have to be pretty freaking cool for me to watch them.
It's very simple, but the video is actually really cool. There was these like shafts of light in this, like they were almost in like the digital sort of looking room with really cool light and shafts of light. And then during Kirk's solo, it was kind of like an alien type thing, like with the lights. It was very simple. It was just them performing the song with really cool lights basically in a room. That's all it was.
Anyway.
But let's just get this one over with. Not get it over with, but like let's just get
I like it. I like this song.
You ready, Chris?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
3, 2, 1.
Maybe the guitars are a little brighter. The kick is totally different.
Yeah, I guess. That's cool. It's cool.
It is cool. It's a great riff.
I guarantee this is how they'll open the tour.
Oh, I'm sure. I don't think it sounds vastly different, though.
No.
That was weird there. It's almost like he forgot which symbol he meant to do, and then halfway through was like, oh, I'll go to this one. I thought that every time I've heard this song, which is like 2 times now. I just love the tone of the guitars. They do not do that very often, where everything kind of stops and then the guitar just kind of continues for a while. They don't do that very often. Verse 3. I love that little double weight there, or the anticipation.
Because I think that that's the song.
Right? That's clearly the lowest, the shortest song by like a minute and a half.
And yet, despite that being true, they can't just end it.
That's true.
Yeah. I mean, but that's Metallica.
Yeah,
Like,
if they really, I mean, it makes sense for them.
I feel
to
like
want the
their
single to
fake
do
endings
that.
have been egregious this album, though.
Yo, well, yeah.
that one where I said it ended 3 times, right? And watching Patrick go for the mouse is
That's
like
how
the
you
tell,
know. That's
right?
really
Like,
what highlights how many. It's like, nope, not yet. Look at the timestamp, my man. There's 20 seconds left.
I know, but normally I have to do it halfway through the song so that I can see the track. But like if we're looking at if we're looking at, I can't see that. It doesn't matter. But
Yeah.
I like that song.
I think it might be my favorite one we've heard so far.
I mean, yeah.
I don't know why I feel weird saying that, but it rips.
Yeah. It's a cool
It's
riff.
a great intro to the album, and it's weird how a 3-minute and 21-second song can feel like so much song, and a 6.5-minute song can also feel like the same amount of song.
When it's
like,
the thing that kills me about it is like knowing how enormous Metallica is, like the idea that they would be like, okay, we're going to release a new album. The amount of pressure that would be on them or whatever to just be like, okay, what do we do? Like, it is so obvious that this is the song that they release, like the day that they announce all that stuff.
Yes.
Because people are going to listen to this and be like, yeah.
See, but I think that song could have had a 2-minute section in the middle. That was,
Yeah.
I think that they could have totally Metallica'd it.
I mean,
and
the second single was Screaming Suicide at 5.5 minutes. So
Yeah.
you're totally right.
I mean, and that song is pretty much just that same riff the entire time.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It doesn't go away from it. The solo is sweet in that one with the whammy bar.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it is cool.
could have had more riffs, but I guess they were probably trying to do a single and they wanted it to be on the radio. And
Yeah.
they wanted it to
Yeah.
or however people listen to music.
And
anymore.
it is. I mean, it's been a big song. Lots of people, so many channels reacted to that.
I mean, that song had to be like on rock radio for the last 3 or 4 months.
Oh, I'm
all
sure
the
it
time,
did.
right?
Yeah,
Like,
I'm sure it was.
it rips.
Yeah.
The kick drum is totally different. I think the guitar tone is a little bit different too.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think it sounded out of context with the rest of the songs.
No, I don't think so either.
I think maybe you could tell there was maybe just a little bit of extra oomph put into it, for sure. And I think the kick drum being constant like that is like one of the coolest parts of the song.
See, one of the things
know?
I was going to bring up, I think it was on the first song where they did the 16th note for a minute. Those were not edited to be perfect.
No, they weren't. No.
But then the kick drum on this.
You don't think he could play it that perfect?
No, I don't. Destroy me in the comments if you wish.
I challenge everyone to go listen to when they played this on Jimmy Kimmel on Monday, because the song started and I thought it sounded great. The drums sounded great, and then Lars started playing the riff, or James started playing the riff, and I was like, oh, okay, this sounds great. And then when the whole song came in and everyone started playing, it just did not sound together to me at all. And at that point, I was like,
Chris is right.
I'm not gonna. Well, no, I was just like, I don't feel the need to listen to any more of this, so I just stopped and shut it off.
Interesting.
I might
When
have
they
to
did
go
Master
watch
of
that.
Puppets, though, I didn't never get that feeling that they were not playing together. But they've been playing Master of Puppets for 35 years.
See, I
So.
listen to I listened to this song whenever it came out. Patrick says it was in December. I believe him.
Or November. I can't
Or
remember.
whatever.
But yeah,
And
a long time
I
ago.
texted the people that I always text when I listen to Metallica and some other bands,
Metallica!
right? And I remember writing down that it sounded like a really well-produced demo.
You told me that.
I told you that. I
Yeah.
told a lot of people that.
Yeah.
And I did not get the feeling. I wonder, and somebody in the comments will surely tell us, especially because everybody's going to listen to our reaction to this song, because you've been listening to it on 94.5 The Stone for the last, whatever.
The Keg. K-E-G.
I was trying to do ones that aren't actually from this part of the world.
I know, but every time I hear that, I'm just like,
You have
it's
a radio
cool to
station
use your
called The
call
Keg?
sign, though. It's the Keg.
Which one?
It's it's like the classic rock one.
106.9?
No, it's yes, it might be 106.9. Yes,
The Keg.
or is it 92?
No, it's
92.3.
it's not classic rock. It's modern rock. The Keg is
92.3 is Z92.
Oh well, Z92 is not the one.
whatever. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, who cares?
But I wonder, and somebody will surely tell us, is that the same mix that came out when
With the music video.
with the music video? Oh, so the music video would tell. We
Yeah,
could.
we could, but we're not
I'm
going
not
to.
going to.
But yeah,
I
that's
will
a good-
go
good
listen to the
thought.
Jimmy Kimmel thing though.
Yeah. Oh, I honestly I really liked what I saw. The second day they performed. The first day was Lux Aeterna. Tuesday was Wherever I'm, or the song off of Black Album, that fast one, Holier Than Thou. And then the third day was Master of Puppets. And then I don't know what they performed tonight because they did it about 2 hours ago. So yeah. Okay, so that was the
Next.
song we all know. Now we're going to Crown of Barbed Wire. 5 minutes, 49 seconds. You ready, Chris? Mm-hmm. All right. 3, 2, 1.
Ooh.
Are those just guitars turned down?
I think so. Along with the bass. In the middle, panned in the middle, too.
There's some really low guitars at like 10 and 2, right?
Yeah.
Another pick scrape.
I'm not digging this. Well, it'll change, though. I'm sure the whole rest of the song will be different, but
That's cool.
yeah, it is cool. More twangy guitar sound.
So tight, this crown of barbed wire.
Vocals sound lower in volume.
Destiny I wear.
Like more reverb, they're just farther away.
To the soul, this jagged wreath I bear. This rusted empire I own.
Cool vocal harmony.
As I rust on this throne. Pierce me with torment and all the rust that I own. So tight, this crown of barbed wire.
This song feels like a demo.
This crown of barbed wire.
Hanging out that long on a wire is just a weird choice.
I want to see what Chris is doing. Is he dancing? No.
Furrowed brow. He's not having a good time either. That riff
This is
sweet.
cool. This is cool, yeah.
Fist tight, it stains conviction. Drips down to bloodshot eyes. It crushes down what is real. Deep crimson blots the skies. This rusted empire I own. Bleed as I rust on
fisty transition there on the audio side. Now the guitars are just louder for a second. Yeah.
That's what I said. This one feels way... It doesn't feel finished. Like it needed one more pass. Or something. We'll see what they...
That's cool.
We'll see what they do. That's the Sandman riff or whatever. Or something referencing.
Yeah, sort of.
One too many times. Oh.
That super low growly bass in the back is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really woofy guitars here. Those are the same notes he used in the solo in the last song, Lux Aeterna. Loud guitars are back. More loud guitars again. Ooh, echo vocal. Key change.
Oh, that's cool.
You shouldn't have to listen to the first 4 minutes to get to that part, though.
No, I was about to say the same thing.
You know what I mean? Weakest song on the album, right? So far?
Yeah, I think so.
I kind of got the feeling like they had the one cool riff, the main do and then they had to make a song.
There was one riff
it.
in there that I was really awkward.
I didn't like it the moment the like verse thing started at the beginning. I was like, oh.
But then there was a couple moments. But
Yeah.
It has its moments
I don't
for
want to
sure,
just
but
crap
it
on the
feels
song.
half-baked.
That's what I said. I said it felt like a demo. It felt like there was something missing in there to make it.
there were just weird audio things going on. Like, right, like it was
The
just like all of a
guitars
sudden,
just
like,
got
oh,
louder during the chorus for no reason.
right, and it
Right?
wasn't like
I liked
smooth.
the chorus.
You liked it?
I didn't. I thought it was okay, but
I like
then
the vocal melody.
hanging
Yeah,
out
that
that
part.
long on wire. I thought was
Yeah,
well,
I don't know.
Wire
That
is not a cool word.
That didn't bother me that much. I thought that didn't bother me at all. I don't know. I like the vocal harmony in the sort of like pre-chorus. I mentioned that right away. I like that. And then the chorus, I feel like some on this album so far, we've had like some of the songs I really like the pre-chorus more than the chorus. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if that's not how it should be. The chorus should be the best part. But that's not how Metallica has usually done their stuff, especially on like Ride the Lightning and Master of Puppets. Like you even said, anti-chorus is what we were talking about with those albums. And so like this stuff doesn't feel like that at all. It still is kind of like a singy chorus, but like I felt like the pre-chorus was better than the chorus on this song, and I don't like that.
I
Yeah,
saw.
I like the part where it's like, you know, bum, 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 na. I thought that was really cool.
that
I really liked
was
the part about the chorus a
cool.
lot.
Yeah, yeah. There was some neat stuff in there. I don't know, but I just don't think that was as good as any
It
of the
lacked a
stuff
little
we heard.
a focus for sure, I think.
I
It
imagined
just-
this Metallica singing that song.
with
yeah.
all the short hair.
Yes. I was going to say short hair James, but all the rest of this stuff, I see modern short hair James.
Oh, rather than just 90s short hair.
Dude looks so good. Like, dude's got it figured out.
He does.
He looks tough as hell.
He
No
looks
long
really
hair.
Currently?
cool. He looks really cool.
Yeah.
Always or right now?
No, not always. In the 80s and then now.
Yeah. He looks good. You're right.
Yeah. Let's just go on. I
Okay.
don't want to talk about negative stuff too much. I mean, we can, but whatever. All right, this is Chasing Light, 6:45. You ready, Chris?
Yep.
3, 2, 1.
There's no light!
That's cool.
Yep.
Well, I was wrong.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Godsmack could literally do this.
That's not Metallica.
Nope.
It would be if it was double the speed
The
There it
notes
is.
on the other side.
the notes are weird. That one harmony note's not Metallica.
Down and out as darkness falls.
Interesting.
So much more than he can take. Oh, shakes the cage in deep withdrawals. Come on, give the boy a break.
Avenged Sevenfold.
I don't really know any Avenged Sevenfold, but I know that they're like sound a
wrong.
lot like Metallica.
Chase that light, lean on me.
It's a cool riff.
That fight, lean on me.
And there's some shouty background vocals.
And him going up high and
Yeah.
storming like that is good.
Yeah, that is cool. This might be the best chorus on the album. Lux Aeterna is pretty good, but that's so damn simple.
Without darkness, there's no light.
Weird little kick hit in there.
Ooh, lost his way through wicked streets.
I feel like my ear is being drawn
But he is someone's little
to weird places in the mix. I don't know.
all the love a young one needs. Thoughtless
I'm really noticing the James side is the guitar is much louder this song. Like, it's more noticeable. I
And more
feel.
clear. Like those high notes in the riff like don't come in on the right side at all.
Yeah.
chase that light, lean on me.
God, I like that.
Fight, lean on me.
I like the background vocals. Spread wide, double tracked.
That's a great riff.
Yeah, it's good.
Good.
Without darkness, without darkness, there's no light.
Weird transient there.
One step down, block it off from you. One step down, with apathy, look straight through. One step down,
I don't mind that.
I don't either.
one step down. It's just
I like this all. I like the whole solo.
That rips too.
She said like, lean on me. Face that fight, lean on me. Get your fall, lean on me. End it all, lean on me. Struggle long gone without darkness. Without darkness, there's no light.
Back to the opening riff.
There's no light.
I like the ending there. That was cool. Let's start with you, Chris Schoenberg.
I've been bad about writing notes, but I wrote some for this one. Are there any other Metallica songs, Chris Parker, that start off with vocals like that?
I don't think so. I was going to say that. I thought the beginning was very cool.
Yeah, for sure. That was like shocking and in a good way, right? Like Metallica songs don't
Yeah, I don't
start
think
off
they've
with
done that.
like,
Especially coming after what we just had too. Like that slow thing, and that was kind of felt weird, and then into this, which almost felt at the beginning of the song. I thought like, oh, this kind of feels like an older Metallica song at half tempo, or like slower, maybe a third of the speed.
yeah.
But like the chorus, I really like the chorus. I don't know. This song, for some reason, I was confused some of the time, which I wouldn't say I have felt so far. Maybe the song before this a little bit, but there was just like, I was a little confused. I don't know. I don't know why. Not my favorite one on the album, I don't think.
I think I should like it more.
That's kind of what I felt the whole time. I was like,
I'm like,
why
the
isn't this
riffs are cool. Like, that's a cool Metallica song, but why don't I like it more than I do?
This one, I feel like there was some production things that were weird. Like I mentioned while we were listening to it, that I felt like my ear was almost trying to be drawn to like one of the sides or the other. And then all of a sudden, like at the beginning part, it was weird because we were just like, what is that? Like there's like extra guitar in there. And all of a sudden it was like, well, let's just have like 4 or 5 tracks of guitar, which we haven't had that very much throughout the album, like lots of overdubs or anything. And they were all kind of just doing this. I don't know. It was weird. What do you think, Chris Parker?
I don't know. I don't really have a whole lot to say about it, honestly.
Yeah, it was confusing to me. I don't.
I think
Unless we're
that-
just getting like tired and stuff, we don't know what to say anymore. but,
I
like,
did just look at the time.
I know.
It
I
is
can
al-
see. We
There
were
is a little
recording
bit of
for
that
2
going
hours
on.
and 16
It is
minutes.
almost 2:00 in the morning. I thought that the harmonies that they did on that one, I think that works. I think if Metallica's going to do harmonies, those are the. I kind of wish that I would. Whatever, and they probably don't care about anybody. Maybe they care a little bit about listening to the album start to finish on this. Like, this isn't like an album, right? I don't think. I do like that we're stopping in between. Anyway, I would have liked listening to the album the way that we have been tonight. I would have liked to hear those style of harmonies before we heard that Steven Tyler thing. I would have been more open to them
If we'd heard this stuff
if
first.
we would have heard that first, because I
I
was still
see.
like, oh, it's Metallica doing like vocal harmonies,
Right.
and then like,
Yeah. I wish that Metallica did shouty gang vocal stuff like Children of Bodom way more. And they never do that. Only have 1 or 2 songs on Ride the Lightning and maybe 1 on Master of Puppets. But like this was like they had James did like two takes and they spread them wide on the May for the chorus. But like there needs to be shouty gang vocals. I'm just sorry. Like that's the thing that these kind of songs call for, and they just don't ever do that, and that's fine, I guess. But like, I don't know. That's the thing.
Did you say that you don't like Avenged Sevenfold?
No, I said I don't really know any Avenged Sevenfold.
Oh, okay. I didn't hear what you said, so I was like, you're wrong.
Yeah, I said I don't know
thought
any.
you said you didn't like 'em.
I don't know any Avenged Sevenfold. All I know is that like people compare them to Metallica a lot.
There's a lot of parallels in them for sure. And that one spot that I mentioned sounded like them. And it's very interesting when Metallica sounds like Avenged Sevenfold because of how often Avenged Sevenfold sounds like Metallica. And it seems like they shouldn't go back that other direction since one is definitely the newer band.
Well,
but it wasn't a complaint. It was just interesting.
The part of this song that you mentioned, that it was when James was like singing like 7 notes for each word. Like, wow, and it's like, what the? You don't need to do that, dude. Like, I like it when he sings, but if you have 5 words in 5 syllables in your phrase, you don't need to have 17 notes that you need to try to hit. And I'm not saying he was rushing it, but just like, that's one of the reasons I don't like choral music, you know? Ave Maria is a 12-minute song. just the words Ave Maria is a 12-minute song. You know what I mean? But like, so like, we don't need to have Metallica doing that during verses, you know? And I don't think they even did that part again in the song. The second verse didn't really sound like that.
But as someone will probably mention, is that one of the interesting things, one of the Metallica mythos things that I do know is that it has been on record that James writes the melodies before he writes the lyrics. Oh. Which is sort of unique maybe in songwriting, but definitely in metal stuff. I've
wondered about that.
That he like has them hummed out or sings nonsense and then he puts words to them. I don't know if he does that on nobody does everything all the time. But like, you know, so that might be why, because he had
the melody, and he just had to fit the
like,
words to it.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I know that's kind of how Linkin Park does it, or did it. They would go into the studio and they would just sing nonsense words. And when they came up with something that they liked, they would have nonsense words throughout the whole track, like just laws and oohs and ahs and stuff. And then they would go back in and fit words into that. Huh. Which is different a little bit, but sort of similar in terms of like music first, lyrics come second.
I wanted to like that more. Maybe
it'll grow on you after a couple of listens.
I'm going to listen to it tomorrow.
You really liked the riff in the chorus. You said several times.
I did. That is a good thrash metal riff, and it does the slidey power chord thing in there. Like you can't. That's
good
really
stuff.
Good. I liked that.
Good stuff.
They're great riffs.
Yeah,
these guys have lots of great riffs. Metallica good at riffs.
It's incredible that they have so many great riffs still after such a long time.
Yeah,
because nobody writes riffs the way they do.
Yeah,
for sure. Though one of the things that now that we're so far, we're like what 2/3 the way through, ish.
We're on 9, 10, 11, 12.
Okay, so we're exactly 2/3 the way through. But we haven't heard anything. I mean, other than some vocal production stuff like the Alice in Chains thing and that last song we listened to that started out with vocals. We are yet to hear an acoustic guitar.
Right, not a single one.
And there's like no other like major. For short periods, there have been sonic changes. Like that one intro of the song that starts with Robert, right? And like, and now I'm singing other Metallica songs in my head. But like we haven't heard anything that's like wildly sonically different. That's kind of odd for Metallica.
Right, and we haven't heard very many harmonized parts at all. That's not the style that they're really going for anymore.
Not big, long, harmonized parts. There's been guitar harmonies.
Yeah, but not even that much. Usually it's just Kirk playing like a solo, harmonizing kind of with the riff is when we have heard. But we have not heard very many like part on the left, part on the right. One of those 2 parts is doing a harmony of the other part.
Right, and like slow with tinkly drums in the background. And
yeah, it just, I don't know. It's felt... to me, the whole thing has felt a little bit more like Southern rock, like I was kind of saying before with the Black Album, which Chris said is more like Load and Reload.
I'm genuinely curious to hear how you feel about Load and Reload, because there's a lot of that kind of stuff in there that's so much different than what you'd be used to.
Yeah. Okay, let's keep going. We're doing good. This next song is If Darkness Had a Sun. This was their second single that they released, I believe, and people were kind of talking about this one, though I never saw what was said.
God, have I heard this one?
So this is If Darkness Had a Sun. Ready, Chris?
Yep.
3, 2, 1. more high frequencies in the guitar. Hear it during this part, at least.
Then a super no high frequency lead, which has been something that's happened on like every song.
It fits in there nicely, though.
Yeah. Mono. No, but the guitars went like.
He's doing that stop thing again on the hi-hat.
I like that riff too. Sweet.
Too long of an intro. Alice in Chains again, right?
All sorts of weird vocal production stuff going on.
I don't know if it's vocal production as so much as it is vocal part. Just weird vocal parts. There, all the bass just dropped out. That's cool. Dun, da, 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 da.
This is Black Album Metallica, right?
I don't know. The bass should be bigger here. It feels like it drops out when the... Really like that riff. And the vocal melody, which is just the riff. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the solo from Enter Sandman. That's sweet too. Go back to that, please.
That is cool.
There's some
Damn.
wibbly woz for you. The low frequency feels very stereo here, doesn't it?
The low frequencies are all over the place in this song. The guitars have a lot more low frequencies in them than the bass. Because now it's gone. It's totally gone.
There's a little wisp of bass tone, and yeah, that's it.
Now it's back. His vocal harmony there is a lower harmony, which is nice. Dang. Very Children of Bodom.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Chris Parker.
You know, I actually did end up hearing that one before. And at the time, I thought it was full of a lot of really interesting new things that they hadn't done before. But now, in context with everything else on this album, it's not that much more. It's not like that novel compared to the rest.
Okay.
It still is, but there's a lot of stuff in this album that I think is different, that they're clearly trying new things. I don't know. I feel like there's one interesting thing that bugged me just a little bit lyrically. He says, if darkness had a son, here I am, temptation would be his father. So darkness must be the mother then, or else his lyrics are nonsense.
That's a great question. That's a great point. That's a great point. I loved that during the chorus, the riff was the vocal melody. Like, that was cool. I like that. You know, you can't do that too much or it seems like you can't sing and play guitar at the same time. Yeah. So you can't do that too much, but when you do that, oh, that's sweet. I love that. I love that kind of stuff. So I really enjoyed that. Chris, we were talking in the song that this song to me it was the most I noticed the low frequencies, like the bass, because there were a lot of chunky guitar riffs where it felt very thick and the bass was spread really wide. And then when the guitar part in the next part of the song would go up to like higher notes, the bass just felt like it completely disappeared. You could still hear the bass guitar, but there wasn't a lot of low frequencies in the bass guitar. It was just more the sort of like farty sound of the bass.
I see.
And so I haven't noticed that at any other point on this album, but this song I really did notice that a lot. So.
I think
a couple
that
of
this
different times I've heard the bass wah, which is, I think, new.
Well, I guess I didn't notice that, but
I mean, I've heard weird bass. Yeah, maybe that's what that was, that growly thing that I was mentioning a few songs ago.
Yeah.
But here are the production tricks that, I mean, I thought that this one had all different sorts of weird, like, just production switch. Like, even the call and response thing, if darkness had a son, here I am, like, those are, you know, absolutely different takes and with different sound to them. The first one was
the vocals,
more,
you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, on the vocals, and then the bass, for whatever reason, that was really weird because the bass guitar felt stereo for a minute, and then it came back to the like.
I think it was just in the guitars.
Really?
Yeah, I really do think that they had like if you looked at the track, they had the guitars on these tracks, but then when it got to that certain part of the song, they moved them up to the other track that had less bass EQ'd out.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? And that's just why it felt that way. Because that's what I was kind of trying to mention. But I don't know. I part of me really liked that song a lot. But there also was something about it that was keeping me from being like, wow, this is the song that I'm going to gravitate towards. You know, like I'm most curious probably to listen to that song again more so than any of the other songs on this album that we've listened to so far. Like, I want to hear that song again because there was something that grabbed me about it, but it didn't keep me the whole time. Whereas on the other songs, I feel like the first like 3 songs on this album were a little bit different than the rest of the album has been.
I agree.
They were a bit thrashier and more like raw energy feeling.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's been more of that southern rock feel. So I don't know. Did you like that song?
I did. I've liked all of them. I really like the heavy riff. I liked the whatever. God, I'm like some days I call myself a musician and I don't know how to say that. Anyway, the timing thing in there, like that's really cool. That will get me 100% of the time.
And they knew that too, so they repeated it at the end a whole bunch, and they knew that was a cool part.
Yeah, and I liked how it was just really short, and that's why I said, "Oh God, please do that again." And then they played something weird in the middle, and then they went back to it.
Yeah,
was that the guitar solo, Chris Parker from Enter Sandman?
I don't know.
Okay,
you said that right away. You were like, "This is the guitar solo from Enter Sandman."
I might have the song wrong. I'm sure somebody will correct me in the comments if I have it, but that is like very strongly referencing a different Metallica guitar solo, like with the structure and like the notes and the feel of the whole thing. But that's been like I think that's been a theme of this album.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know. I don't think that's bad.
Unless these next 3 songs blow my brains out, I am probably going to say that I like Hardwired better than this as an album as a whole so far.
Okay.
But that's
I'm curious.
just a thought that I've had.
But I can't I don't think that there's anything wrong with it. It's metal. Like
right.
It and like that's usually like that's the first dividing line. That is the first separator on the flow chart. Is it metal?
Yeah.
And it is.
And there's every opportunity for that to change after I give it a few more listens for sure, but just on initial.
I really think that if we were listening to it without stopping, we would be feeling quite a bit differently.
I think so too. I think that we would probably be
disliking
a little bit
it more.
bored.
I agree.
Because I'm a little surprised the production hasn't changed that much. Like the songs feel different, but like until this one came up, like also another weird production thing. So that had a different drum sound at the beginning. It might be the same drum sound from Lux Aeterna, right? Because that starts out with the just kick and snare thing. This last song that we listened to.
Yeah.
But the one thing, and I cannot figure out if it's just something that's literally going on between my ears or not. I get the feeling, and now it might be because I started thinking about, is it not really about balancing the guitars out, Chris? It's about balancing the guitar with a hi-hat. I get the feeling sometimes that kick drum is not here, that it's here. It's at the beginning of this song, when it's just the drums, it's here. And a few other times in the song, it's dead center. And you haven't noticed that the whole time?
And I think I would notice that if I had.
Maybe it's something else that's going on.
You know, something else that's fun too.
Slightly to the
something
right.
else that's fun too. Every time we're sitting here listening to something, and I'll look at you and we make eye contact, and then we both say something. You talk about the guitars, and I talk about the drums. The thing I listen to first for every single part of every one of these songs is the drums. Mm-hmm. And I understand it's Metallica, and you're supposed to listen to the guitars.
Vocals.
Yeah, and the vocals for sure. But like, I'll say,
Patrick, what have I had you help me with on every record that I've ever done?
Right, the vocals and the drums. right. But like, it's interesting. But it's just like, it's funny. Like, I know what you're listening to and what I'm listening to initially are different things, and that's kind of fun, you know.
For sure. Okay. Well,
Chris, you got anything else to say about this one? No. Let's go on.
Let's move on.
This is a short one again, so I don't know. This is 4:33. This is Too Far Gone with the question mark.
With a question mark.
Could this potentially be the ballad?
I don't think so. I don't think they'll do a short ballad.
I don't think there will.
Okay. All right. 3, 2, 1.
Not a ballad.
I like it already. It just sounds better. Immediately. Why is that? Because the hi-hats sound better?
Hi-hat's the same, I think. It's at least extremely similar.
Maybe there's just more harmony parts in there, whatever, something thicker part.
That was a little kill 'em all, I think.
I wouldn't know. Do you think this was supposed to be the second single or whatever because it's the short one again? Just curious.
I like that.
The little triple-y parts in there. Da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da, da-da-da.
The vocal harmonies are cool too.
It didn't feel like a chorus. That didn't. I like this. For some reason, it just sounds better to me than what we've heard the last few songs.
Yeah, again, I like another fucking awesome, sorry,
That's all right.
thrash riff.
I like it when they do those little solos. And it's more than just a fill, you know. It is a solo, but it's shorter than a solo. You know?
Yeah.
Ah. Whoa.
Yeah.
I like that. I like this. Whoa. Overlapping vocals. That never happens in Metallica's music. Hey, the solo's on the other side. It's panned to the right. Or it's panned to the other
Just very slightly. Like, yeah.
Kirk's are usually panned over to his side a little, but this is not. It's probably still Kirk, but...
Oh, it is. Why?
There's a lot of harmony parts in there, it feels like, at least. That song felt like it came from the same album as Lux Aeterna.
Yes.
That song felt like Lux Aeterna. I like that. I love that. That's probably my second, maybe favorite song on the album.
That was great.
It
Made me think, like, he's doing so many more interesting things vocally than he ever has in terms of like funky vocal rhythms and, you know, singing in different ways than he ever has before. Like, I feel like there's never been this much of a focus from him on having every song be vocally so much different than each other.
That's interesting. You know, one thing I will say about this song that was slightly disappointing to me, but is a very Metallica thing. The chorus was almost like they were teasing you, like they were going to go into this like big chorus, and then it just didn't. you know, and that's a very Metallica-y thing. So it's like I can't be mad at them for that. But like if there ever was a song that they were going to have with this big soaring chorus, like it would have been nice to have that here. But I understand that they don't really do that too much, you know. But I love this. I thought the riff was great. Immediately when it started, I thought it sounded better. For some reason, I couldn't really put my finger on it. But
not that much different. I know what you mean, but
yeah, I just immediately I thought it sounded better, and I don't know if it was a drum thing. I do think that maybe I was going to say, do you think his vocals were just a touch louder in this song? Because I think maybe they were. And like I said, when it finished, especially with that riff at the end there, that was the same. They were doing the same riff from Lux Aeterna, the da 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 da, but they did it in Lux Aeterna with like this weird, like the ba 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 thing. But here they were just going da 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 da, like they were doing the same descending riff. And it felt like Lux Aeterna to me, and I was like, okay, this song feels like it was on the same album as Lux Aeterna, and I don't know if I could say that about a lot of the other songs on the album. Even though I think sonically Lux Aeterna is not that much different from the rest of the album, but like tonally and it just feels a little different. And so
this was an upbeat, had a very specific section of what I think you could consider to be like a major chord.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, there was moments.
There was some weird happiness, some upbeat action to it.
Yeah.
In the very beginning, there was like did it whatever did, and then it was just the guitars, and then it was like it had the little tiny last bit was higher. And it reminded me of Seek and Destroy quite a bit.
And there was that thrashy sort of like triplet-y part in the second half of the chorus.
That was the first time we heard really aggressive guitars like that.
Yeah, we haven't heard that at all. So that was really nice. Let's just keep going.
Yeah.
I can feel we're all kind of getting tired, but I don't want to do this injustice. You know, we can do it, but let's at least finish and then we can talk.
This is 72 seasons.
Just listening to this.
No. No, I meant not and justice.
Oh, Injustice.
But I'm oh, jeez. Okay, so this is Room of Mirrors. On previous Metallica albums, have they had the penultimate song on the album be the instrumental one?
Mm-hmm.
On Black album, the penultimate song was the one that they were going to have it be an instrumental song, and then they changed it to have lyrics to it, and we all thought it felt kind of weird and out of place. Chris liked it a lot. Chris Parker liked it a lot. You and I didn't care for that song as much. So I'm curious. Metallica, I feel like, has kind of a weird track record when it comes to penultimate songs. So
let's see what it is.
Yeah, let's.
So this probably almost certainly means we're not getting a ballad.
I would guess. I don't know.
Not this far in the record.
One thing I was going to say,
unless
real
they're
quick,
going to really throw us a curveball.
What if the last track is not a full one song that's 11 minutes and 10 seconds? What if
there's
it's
a ballad in the middle?
No. What if it's a 5-minute song and then 2 minutes of silence and then a 3-minute song? Like they used to do on CDs back in the day. The last track always used to have be super long and there'd be like a secret song. What if they did
never
that?
do that.
I like the ones where you put it in the and you put it in the negative time.
Yeah.
And so you have to listen. You can't skip to it. You have to listen to the whole track.
Blur has an album where the entire you start the album and before track 1 there's a whole song.
Wow.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
How do you then? Oh, so you have to
rewind.
That's it.
That's cool.
Physical media was cool for stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay. Room of Mirrors, the penultimate track, 5.5 minutes long. You ready, Chris?
Mm-hmm.
3, 2, 1.
Not a ballad.
You can't start to say that until we hear the audio. Everything just stops and it's acoustic guitars. After hearing 1, I'm okay that they don't do any ballads. Worst song in Metallica's entire catalog, by far.
Murder Patrick in the comments.
People have left comments like, how can you not like 1? And I'm like, very easily. I listened to it. I heard it. Vocals sound quieter.
Yep.
Why? I hate it. I hate that. That's like one of the worst things you can do mix-wise, is have the vocals be just a little too low. Whoa. Tonal shift.
Just for a second, though.
I like that. I wish the vocals were louder, but other than that, I really like this. That little da-da-da.
Kick drum is completely different.
I noticed that right away too. It feels more muted almost. Or, yeah, it doesn't
I mean,
sound
it's
as
super
good.
bright.
It feels more prominent, but I
That's a
don't.
lyric from the previous
Broken,
album.
beat, and scarred. Yeah, that's what Chris picked up on too.
What is it? What does
It's a
that
song,
mean?
It's a song from Death by Nick, I think.
Oh. Well, how am I supposed to know that? I love this part. And it's cool lyrics too.
Boy, that kick is weird.
His guitar solo is back on the other side now.
Where it belongs.
Yeah, where it was the whole rest of the album. Maybe it was last song too, I can't remember. Yeah, that was cool. Weird. That's cool. Ooh. Yeah. Slowing it down. Ooh. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
There's why the kick sounds different, because this part of the song.
Excellent.
Yeah. Another weird tom hit in there.
This is great.
They don't do stuff like that very often at all. Really. Where they have like a melody in the vocal, in the guitar that's not necessarily a riff. I mean, it is a riff, but
What an ending.
okay, so Chris, I don't know if you could hear what we were talking about there, but one thing we said that the kick was totally screwed up that song.
I don't know if
Really?
it screwed it up.
I didn't like it as much as the rest of the album at all.
It's because they had to do that fast part.
I know, but even still, they could have had it sounding better the
I
rest of the
think
song.
so too. It was like really the click was very bright.
Yeah, it was very
Yeah,
weird.
that's true.
Now, the other thing we noticed right away, I noticed, was the vocals were lower on this song than they have been.
By the end of the song, I was fine with it though.
Yeah, it didn't bother me as much, but to me, that's a big bummer because those two things for me really lower my overall enjoyment of this song. Whereas I feel like this could have almost been my favorite song on the album if it was mixed as well as the other stuff that we've heard. Like,
I might put this in a contention for favorite song of the album.
I loved
reminds-
the chorus. Go ahead.
It reminds me of there's a medley that they did on Garage. That's a 12-minute medley called Merciful Fate that I love. It's my favorite song on that album, and there is so much of that in this song, vocally for sure. And on Hardwired, my favorite song is Halo on Fire, and the second half of Halo on Fire is just like they just do a little pause breakdown, and then he does that high sort of melody thing that he was doing in the second half of this song.
Yeah.
That whole second half of that song is just the coolest, best version of that they've ever done. And it reminded me of that a lot too. And this was really great. I love that high melody stuff with the guitar harmonies and things. Man, that's the way. That's so catchy.
That was really cool when that started, and then you're like, yes, and then the low harmony came in, you're like, yes.
Yeah, it's like, yes.
Yes.
Was that you commenting on the broken, beat, and scarred thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, I did. I was like, yep, that's from the previous album for sure.
That's awesome. That's cool. Should we just listen to the last one?
Yeah, let's get moving.
Is this where we're gonna get the acoustic guitars? Because
Yes.
we just had two faster songs, and if we were listening to this straight through, what we just listened to, and then some acoustic guitars come in, I'll bet you that's what we're gonna get.
11 minutes. I'm going to guess it's got acoustics and it's instrumental.
I hope not, but we'll see. All right, 3, 2, 1.
That's rad. And different guitar sound, kind of.
It's balanced better.
It is. For now, it'll change as soon as the script changes.
Weird snare drum reverb.
I like it.
Shorter, like more 80s reverb. Bass guitar sticking out a little bit more here,
Oh, yeah.
which I feel like the bass is always way more noticeable on their instrumental songs because there's more room for it in the middle of the mix, you know?
We don't know this. I knew it wasn't.
Well,
From the first two notes, I knew it wasn't.
0 for 5.
We still could get some acoustic guitars, you don't know. It's 11 minutes long. I wonder if there's going to be a break and a second song. I know. Whoa!
Auto-tune.
Ooh, that's cool. Ooh, that is cool. Oh! Yeah, this is cool. This feels like Black Album. And not just because of My Friend of Misery or whatever, like... Yeah! It's not very Metallica-y, but yeah! how he's singing here a little bit more clean. That's how he's saying like Master of Puppets, the entirety of it, with the exception of a few parts where he did go a little more guttural. Dude, that's cool. Yeah. I love that. Okay, here we go. What are we gonna do for 7 minutes? Back to the opening riff. That snare drum reverb's back. That's a guitar, right?
It's an electric guitar.
Interesting song.
Nothing on the right except that hi-hat.
Now there is.
Yeah.
That's like 3-part harmony or more. Oh my god, they keep going. We're getting into music theory now.
That's so cool.
Yeah, I knew you'd love this. Holy cow. He's having fun. Now they can just like have the song devolve into whatever, you know? Because we still got 3 minutes, 2 minutes. Nice vocal harmony there.
Ooh, a little bit of hissy hiss at the end.
Thank you, good night.
Oh, wait, go back.
Yeah, okay, we're going to play, Chris, we're going to play the very end of that so we can hear what they are saying, okay?
Huh?
We're gonna go back and play the very end of that track so we can hear what they were saying, okay?
Yeah, I stopped it early, so I missed it.
Yeah, we couldn't tell it either, but there's definitely some
It's
talking
farther
there.
back than that. It's more than 5 seconds.
Thank you, good night.
That was the best one. That button was the best one.
The best button.
So thank you, good night. That button was the best one. That was the best button.
One of
was the
those
best
voices
one.
was James Hetfield, but I don't know who the other guys were.
Yeah. Could have been the producers.
I
Yeah,
love that they said thank you, good night. Dude, that might be my favorite song on the album.
Yeah, I really
No,
like that one a lot.
that's
That
awesome.
was really good. I loved that. It was different, very different, obviously. But like, man, for that being an 11-minute song, dang, it didn't feel
like
that
it.
way. No. It really, and the fact that that one was mixed well, you know. Now that we're done with the album, we can talk about overall. And to me, the biggest thing is like inconsistency with the mixing from song to song, which I don't feel it wasn't like egregiously bad, but I feel like there were several songs, at least 2, that I would have liked them more had they been more consistently mixed, like Lux Aeterna and the songs that were clearly like the best sounding songs on the album.
Yes.
I feel like the album started strong and ended really strong.
And in the middle, it was a little. This songs, and I think that the production kind of followed the songwriting.
I guess. Yeah. I think that there was one song in the middle that I did not like. Other than that, I would say I liked every song on the album. And I think that I would say just in my limited amount of Metallica albums that I've heard, this is my second favorite Metallica album after Black Album, is what I would say. Okay, you guys can talk now for a little bit.
I think by the time we got to the end of this album, you could take this album, take Saint Anger and throw it away, and then you've got Garage, then this, then Death Magnetic, then Hardwired, and it would not sound out of place at all.
Okay.
I liked it, and I think that it's good. I think that it's just good modern Metallica.
I think so too. I think they've really found a nice place to sit where the days of them changing how metal is as a genre are long over, but they're still making music that they enjoy that is good, that everybody likes. Let
me ask you this, and I want both of you to answer this. Does this album sound good?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
I think that there are some inconsistent things, and I thought that there was just like some. I'll have to go back and listen to them again, but I thought that there were like some mixing like mistakes, like things that were
like the vocals being too low, like noticeably so on some of the songs.
And there were a couple of those transitions. I guess you could chalk that up to taste, and like we all know that Metallica has a lot to do with the production of their records. And maybe James said, "I don't think I sang this one as good," or like he thought that, and he's like, "Turn it down." That could have been it.
Sure.
But they're like those lumpy guitars that happened a couple times where it was like all of a sudden it's like, why did that guitar just suddenly get louder and not in the right spot or not at the right rate? And it was I guess I got used to the hi-hat sound because it is the same hi-hat sound at the end of the record as it is in the beginning.
Yeah. That moment where it stopped and it was just hi-hat and bass.
That was very not Metallica.
And then he just started singing, and we're like, "Whoa,
that was awesome!"
I agree. It was awesome. Yeah,
it was. I never thought I was going to have an opinion about like an actual real recorded hi-hat sound, but I think it sounds good. I think that there's no high frequency. I think the kick drum sound changes too much. That should have been done more cleverly to where I would have been like, oh, this one, like on the fourth listen, I'm like, oh yeah, this one's actually different than it was.
Do you think that, I forgot what I was going to ask.
There was another thing, and this is super
My
detailed.
fault.
And I can tell that I have been at school listening to stuff.
Right, thinking
that
about
is
it
part of
differently.
my obsession with stereo field, because with some of the children that I have in, I shouldn't say children, some of the students.
Some of your students, yeah.
When you're at a very basic level and you're like, okay, let's listen to stuff like a professional now. Like that's one of the things that you can do. Like, can you tell me where stuff is?
Right.
So I've been obsessed with stereo field for like the last year. I think about it way too much. Where was I going with this?
Balancing, maybe possibly.
Oh, I mean, that's Metallica. I'm used to it. Like for some, I don't know why, because sometimes it's correct.
Yeah.
And in that song, it happened, right? It was that song where you're like, oh, they're balanced.
I don't remember.
No,
it was the song before this. Yeah.
But then eventually as that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought that the lead guitar tone, especially when it first came in, like on one of the first songs, it was so mid-rangey. I thought that was just weird, but I ended up liking it.
I agree. I thought the lead guitar was pretty good.
The kick sound thing, though, especially in that one song, the one towards the end, was it Too Far Gone? No.
Quit sending me stuff.
No.
Oh, is that
The first one, I was going to ask you that soundgym.co. That's a fantastic website for that exact kind of stuff you're talking about.
Soundgym.co.
I was talking about that. I guess that might be something we'd start doing at school, is using that for ear training stuff.
I did it for several months last year, I think, maybe the year before, and it'll sort you out. It's really great. I like it a lot.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think it sounds good. There was some inconsistency stuff and maybe some errors, and whatever, but I'm right. I feel very strange saying that I'm like, I think that there were mixing errors on a Metallica record, but like,
but it's not strange.
Oh, I mean, no. I mean, I think it's fine to say that it sounds bad, but like,
inconsistencies.
Like that there was things that I could say that like that was objectively not, or close to objectively.
Yeah. Well, because that
incorrect.
shouldn't happen on a Metallica album. No. If nothing else, it should be consistent. So I think maybe what you said is that would lead me towards like what you said is probably true, where James is like, no, I need to be turned down there. And they're like, are you sure? Can we convince you otherwise? No. Okay, we'll turn you down. You know, like, I don't know.
The thing, I think it was in that last song. This is a super weird detail, but I'm tuned into this sort of thing right now. That there was that hi-hat, and it was like right here, right? And it's really present, but there was room sound and or reverby sound on it, right? And it was like the high frequency was there, but it wasn't super high, whatever it was. But then when the snare drum came back in, that the hi-hat is like glued to your face, and then the snare drum was like over here, and it switched, and I'm just like, it's fine, and I know that you have to do those things, but for whatever reason I picked up on it, I'm like, that is like, it was just because it was from such different places. It was like in that call and response vocal that was on If Darkness Had a Sun. Is that what it was?
Yep.
Like that, like that there was just like two different spaces. Like the call was here and then the response was, and not stereo field wide, but with time-based processing wise. But
yeah, there was interesting things like that, but I think, I don't know. I don't really know how to feel about this album overall. You know, when we were listening to the first song, I was like, is this going to be on my top 12 albums of the year list? And I don't think so.
That middle third of the album was kind of, for whatever reason, was kind of a drag.
What do you think, Chris, when you do your list?
That's a good question. I mean,
Metallica's your favorite band, so it's like
I'm definitely going to put them on the I'm definitely going to put them in the contenders list, and then we'll see how it shakes out. I know that there's a couple of things coming out this year, or that are likely to come out this year, that will be very important. But if they don't make the top 12, I'm not really sure. I don't think that's possible. They'll be in there somewhere.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure they will. Now, you said if these last three songs don't blow me away, and then you did seem to like all the last three songs quite a lot.
I did, but they didn't make up for the difference between this and Hardwired. I still think Hardwired's an album I like more.
That's what I was going to ask, yeah.
But this evokes so much of Garage Inc. Like that song that I sent you on Facebook just now.
Yeah.
That's that Merciful Fate melody, which I think if you listen to that, you will hear so much of this in that song.
Okay, that's interesting. I don't know. I don't know. It's so weird. Like, to me, I almost think that this is what I would imagine Load and Reload sound more like this, or at least the middle half of the album.
Second half of the album.
The slower, more southern-y type of things.
Yes.
You know, it's weird because like the first half of the album had some like cool, unique things to it, like the twangy guitar and stuff. Mm-hmm. But like that twangy sounding guitar only was in 2 songs. Or at least they played the guitars that way, I guess. I don't know if it's necessarily a guitar sound thing, so much as it is just the part that they wrote sounding like that. Yeah. But that really only happened in 2 songs. And like this last song, and then one other song, it felt more like less like crunchy heavy and more like, I guess, like AC/DC heavy or something like that. I guess, I don't know, like more using more of the more open chord type of feel to it, I guess, rather than the like crunchy, chuggy, you know, heaviness.
Yes.
Or power chord. You know, it was more than just a power chord. I don't know. And so those, I like that, but if it's done too much, I don't know if I would like it as much. Like the first song was probably the one that impressed me the most, the fastest song on the album, the most thrashy one, which is what Metallica always has. The first song on their albums be the fastest, most thrashier one. I feel like.
Was it I don't think
it wasn't on Black Album, but on all the other albums it was.
Lux Aeterna was faster though.
Lux Aeterna was faster, yes, but I don't think it was heavier.
Oh, well, those are maybe different.
Here comes that conversation again.
No, I know we don't need to talk about that. But
talk about it.
But
can we keep score though here real quick? So after we listened to the first song, each of us made a prediction.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Patrick Musilek said that there would be strings.
Yeah, really.
I feel like every one of our predictions went to hell. We're getting to be zeros across the toilet.
Chris Parker said the 11-minute song would be an instrumental. Did you know? Because I knew. After the first measure, I knew that wasn't going to be an instrumental.
Yeah. I knew. As soon as it started, I was like, yeah.
That's not how Metallica does it.
It wasn't instrumental, and it didn't have acoustic guitars, so I was wrong on both counts.
But then Chris said that there would be no slow songs. Then I meant ballads on
Right.
the record.
Yeah, I would say there were no
So
ballads.
I win the podcast. Today.
You do win the podcast.
You do.
Although we all lose because we would have all liked, I think, a slower song well, maybe not.
I think it would have been okay if there was. I think that would have been a throwback. It seems like we talked about '90s Metallica a lot while we were listening
Yeah.
to this.
I will say that last track, there were like, you could cut like 4 slow minutes out of that 11-minute track and it would be a ballad.
Yeah.
But in context, it wasn't a ballad overall. You could
Right.
definitely cut out some of those middle sections and have the full length ballad song. But obviously that doesn't count for that. But yeah, I don't know. You're right. Chris won.
Anyway. I thought it was good. I'll listen to it again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'll be listening to this a lot.
And
Over
yeah,
and over
now
again.
like as if you're gonna, I feel a little bit obligated actually. Like I would have listened to this record not at midnight, but I would have listened to it tomorrow had we not done this.
Right.
Because like there's an
yeah.
obligation to listen to the new Metallica.
The new Metallica,
record.
yeah.
Is
Yeah.
there gonna be like are we gonna get like a hour-long movie of like the making of or anything like that? Because I guess I would like to see some pictures of some stuff. I would also like to see.
Have they done documentaries about each of their last however many albums?
No.
But like there's
I mean, maybe
stuff,
it-
isn't there?
They did that Nothing Else, or not the,
Through the Never,
yeah.
which I
Well,
think
that-
I did not see, but it seems like the most fever dream, completely indescribable thing of all time.
Go watch it.
Is it good?
So I went and bought movie tickets ahead of time to go watch that. And that was
Yeah.
hilarious because it was in Omaha and it was like on a Thursday night. Me and my brother were the only people in the theater.
Yes, absolutely.
But it
That movie
was-
just doesn't. What is it? What could it be?
Well, see, but that's
He couldn't explain it to me either.
No, people got all weird. People got all weird about it. So like, and it was cool. Through the Never was cool because it was actually pretty cool. That it was just me and my brother in the theater. But like everybody got so what is it? What is it? What is it? Like that's probably the reviews that you read, Chris Parker.
I didn't read any reviews. I just
Oh.
saw it and I was like, I don't understand this, and then I kind of just ignored it.
I think that was the thing though, is that people like were looking for something to understand. It's a live concert video with just weird crap thrown in the middle, and there's like supposed to kind of be a plot to it, but it's just like cool cinematic stuff. I think that Metallica
right.
was probably like, I don't know, we got a bunch of money, which is probably how every one of their conversation starts. That's how I imagine
I don't
like
know,
when
we
they
got a
have
bunch
their
of money.
Zoom calls, they're like, we got a bunch of money, let's do something stupid. But they wanted to build that stage. That was one of the things that was for it because the was it the Hardwired stage or the Death Magnetic stage? I can't remember which one it was. But anyway, they had the special stage built. They probably knew they were going to do that. And they're like, let's make a live performance video. Also,
Sure.
we're Metallica, so let's make a movie.
Right.
And they just had these weird ideas. And it was just, but like, it was cool. I don't overthink it. Just watch it. And be
I'm
like,
sure
oh,
it can. Yeah,
cool
I bet it's
picture.
cool. I bet it's never sounded better. Like Melanie Martinez did her last album, K through 12, had a theatrical release of a movie, which was effectively just a music video for every song stitched together with a pretty thin story.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very interesting, and it's not something I had ever seen before. And this sounds like it might be pretty similar.
It is. It's a like a live performance music video with like some weird cinematic stuff and like
I'll check it out.
yeah.
So do we think that they'll do something? Because like I said, they have been releasing so much footage of them in the rehearsal space.
Then there's gonna be an.
So there's
is that
gotta
where
be.
Is that where they record stuff? That's where they record
Not in this
demos.
case. Well, for this album, all their demos were recorded individually and sent to each other because of the
Okay.
pandemic.
Yeah. I would like to. If there will be a YouTube video that's probably too long. That will, like in the
Like this
background,
one.
there'll be like a sweep by shot of like mic setups and stuff. And
I'm sure. It's just fun. I don't know. Now that we've listened to the album, we can all go watch all of the content that they've been releasing for this because I intentionally didn't because I didn't want to hear anything, Yes. But like there's so many videos that I've seen pop up on my timeline on YouTube of just like James yells at Kirk for he doesn't know how to play this song correctly or something like that. And it's just all of them in the same rehearsal space, like it looks like on the same day. So I don't know if they just like film them for like a long time or if they film them to do something specific with the footage. I don't know. But like they're doing this thing with. They could easily make some sort of a documentary out of all this, I feel, especially with the pandemic stuff. Because if they had cameras go to each dude's house or their studio and record some stuff and interviews with them there, they could easily do some sort of a thing. But as far as I know, I will say there's no deluxe edition of this album that comes with like a bonus DVD or any additional tracks.
I'd be surprised
Nothing
if
like
anything additional came out with this.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like there is anything additional at all. It's just the one album and that's all it is. No addition, no bonus tracks, no nothing. Whereas with Hardwired to Self-Destruct, they released this giant thing with all these like bonus songs and stuff. And so it's like they have a history of doing special editions, but the music industry right now is not special edition-y. If you buy the CD or any physical media at all, that's the special edition anymore, so
How about we wrap it up?
Yeah, how about we wrap it up?
yes. We don't need to talk really at all anymore. We can be done. Everyone knows we did this really late at night. Thank you very much for watching. Like I said at the beginning of the video, if this is your first time here and you made it all the way through or you skipped to the end to hear our thoughts on this video, I really think if you have any tracks that you enjoy from this album more, go back and listen to those. At least I'll have to have timestamps for every track and then what we talked about in between.
Well, tell us what your favorite songs are down in there in the comments.
Yeah, well, definitely let us know what you think about this album. And I really want to know in comparison to the rest of Metallica's catalog. Because I haven't experienced the whole catalog yet. But for me personally and my taste and the way it was mixed, I think that this is a lot better than their earlier work. But I know most people probably wouldn't think that. So
Sure.
So just let us know that in the comments, whatever. Thank you very much for watching. We got a lot of good stuff coming up on the channel, including more Metallica.
Bye.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much for watching. This is the only time we'll all get to probably ever listen to Metallica together, so this is like a really cool special occasion. So thank you guys for doing this with me. This is what the initial plan was to just build up to this.
We did it.
It wasn't to do all these other Metallica albums. That's something we're going to do now.
Do the yay sound and put the confetti on the screen. Yay!
Yeah, I got it saved in my other videos, so yeah, I'll do that. Okay, bye everybody. Thank you for watching. Enjoy Metallica. One sucks.